So we're talking about Active Directory sites and services, and this is something that system administrators at once start concentrating on as soon as they join, or as soon as there is a new branch popping up for the company at any location, physical location, far away from your headquarters or where you are. So when suppose there are 10 branches in a company, and they are connected already through VPN. Okay, networking team has done it, or if you're the network guy as well as the system administration guy as well, then you would have already connected all the branches through. Okay, what are the technologies in Cisco that you connect branches with? The most popular ones, or the only one, or two or three there are. And can anyone name it? Okay, connect this branch to this branch. Oh, I have 10 branches, I'm paying you 50 per hour. Can you just connect them, or can you tell me a plan? How would you go about connecting all these branches? Basically, from which equipment are you going to? Definitely don't go for Microsoft server, VPN servers. So those guys can afford Cisco, Juniper, you name it. How would you connect? Any idea? Sorry? Okay, so you put a router there, and you need to put a protocol there, or you need to put some kind of configuration there on two routers. So each branch has a router. What protocol? What configuration? Hey, is there any Cisco guy here? What is MPLS? What does it do? This is a Cisco class as well.
Basically using a layer 2 technology.
Yeah.
It's just like layer 2.
Okay. But does it?
It's switching.
Yeah. So it helps in connecting the branches basically, or does it work over when the connection is done already, and then you make a Yeah. So it's a site-to-site communication protocol that you can use, right? Cisco VPN. There are Juniper VPNs as well. There's a third one, Hawaii. Yeah. Hawaii something.
First, we need the site-to-site T1 connection, or we need like dedicated T1 connection for site.
Okay.
Or you can separately purchase around to your sites, right?
Okay. Exactly. Oh, through source, of course, or the internet, or dedicated lines as well. Or if it's line of sight, I can see that building. Okay, there's our office, second office, so it's line of sight, or through satellite as well. You can connect. Exactly. Well, wow, infrared. Yeah, as long as it's direct connection, there's nothing in between. So suppose you have connected 10 branches. Now Active Directory does not know. Active Directory will not automatically know that. You will have to tell Active Directory that there are other branches which are having domain controllers, which are having these file servers, SQL servers, and third-party servers, which are going to be communicating with each other over the WAN. And you have to really tell and create the topology for Active Directory through sites and services. You have to tell what subnet is being used, what is the name of the branch. That is something, if you don't name the branch, it's just about IP addresses that Active Directory would want to know. But why would Active Directory want to know that there is another branch? Why can't it just automatically discover that? So we're gonna know that now. Active Directory AD DS replication overview. So configuring Active Directory, domains, directory services, sites, configuring and monitoring AD DS replication. Do we have all child domain intact? Please turn it on. That's not for us. Okay, let's just go and check it out. So if we have all these branches, the pyramids are actually branches, and Mississauga, Vancouver, Calgary. So we have to tell Active Directory that there are branches here. We're gonna create some make-believe branches of our of our own, but we're gonna use all the features of Active Directory to know that. So can anyone tell me, domain controllers talk to each other within LAN every, fill in the blanks, every dash seconds?
60 seconds?
Yeah, 45 up to 1 minute, 45 seconds up to 1 minute. Every domain controller talk to each other between sites every
2 hours or is it 180 minutes?
180 minutes, exactly 3 hours.
Yeah,
So we need to know now. Okay, suppose we know that between Toronto and Mississauga we have very good van, and 180 minutes is a no-no. It's unacceptable. We need some updates that needs to be done every 2 hours, 2 hours, or 1 hour, or half hour even. It's a small update, but that software need to be really communicating with, maybe point of sales software, or maybe something that's not creating a huge traffic but has to be communicating every half an hour. So that setting should be in the software as well, that how much updates you want to send to the schedule according to the third-party software. But also, if you want domain controller to be talking to another domain controller within less than 3 hours, you can configure that from Accurate Sites and Services, and that's what we're going to configure. Then there are many other features that we're going to see for Accurate Sites and Services, but the main thing is that if there's a domain controller in any of these branches, you got to tell Active Directory that, hey, this domain controller is no longer in the LAN, it is across WAN, and Active Directory will not automatically know that. And suppose okay, this slide is actually coming, but if there's a domain controller here, and this and one of those 4 domain controllers, you take it to Mississauga. Now Active Directory knew that the 4th domain controller was in the LAN, so it was sending every 45 seconds, or when the change happened, 45 seconds of that change, it would just update the other domain controller. So it knows that it's a LAN, it's inside my LAN. You shifted it physically, now it is connected in Mississauga. You change the IP address as well and everything. If you don't go manually in the sites and services and actually shift that domain controller to another site, it's going to think, Active Directory is going to think that it's still in LAN, while you physically only transferred. You did not tell Active Directory, you did not do those 2-3 steps. Active Directory will over the WAN start sending 45 seconds update, and that's going to be a disaster for the WAN bandwidth. And suppose every branch here is you physically transferred domain controller to every branch, but you never told Active Directory, you never did anything. Okay, yeah, just transfer this, transfer that. I didn't know that there was in certain services I have to actually tell and do those steps, that this particular domain controller is in this particular branch. So go for, as soon as you tell it, then it knows, okay, 180 minutes by default. You can change it anytime, but 180 minutes I do not need to send updates every 45 seconds to these domain controllers which are in the branches. So you have to manually go and check those steps. So it's a one-time thing. Once you physically transfer a domain controller to another branch, it's a one-time thing that you have to just tell Active Directory, hey, it's no longer in your LAN, so stop sending 45 seconds updates. It's going to now wait for your updates after 3 hours. It's expecting those updates by default unless you change those timings, right? So we're going to talk about that more. There are many more features of Active Directory Sites and Services. What are the AD DS partitions? Okay, we need to know that, because we need to know what gets replicated. So characteristics of AD DS replication, how AD DS replication works within a site, resolving replication conflicts. Okay, one more thing. Did we do sites forest trust? No, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm asking about all in previous 2 courses. Did we do child domain? We did, no, replica DC.
No, we did RDC.
We we did not do child domain or tree domain, right?
No.
So it's all about trust, relationship. So that's another topic you know what, right after this let's do that, because now we need to know how branches communicate, how bigger networks communicate, because it's all about 412, which is disaster recovery and big networks. Okay, so normally I cover it at 411, but then 412 I left this one.
Okay, thank you.
So Active Directory partitions. So then there is a replication. It's mostly about replication that you're going to hear that sites and services is going to concerned about. Thank you. Oh, everyone's here. Okay. Huge. Okay. Anyway, so right. Active Directory partitions. Okay. Anyone has an idea if there's an importance of further segmenting Active Directory? So there is configuration partition within Active. You install Active Directory. These are the 4 areas that you need to handle. That's a very favorite exam question if you claim that, hey, I know Active Directory. Okay. FSMO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. FSMO has 6 roles, right? So I said it already. No, but you knew. I understand that. FSMO has 5 roles. FSMO is the most important, one of the catchy questions from non-technical interviewers. Okay, anyway. And? You're stuck now. No, before interview? So guys, I'm going to send you some interview tips. It's not tips. It's the actual interview. And follow-ups are written there and question answers are given. If you just follow that, some students have told me, we just follow that, sir, and we had no idea about system administration. We were not even desktop. So, and now we are on the 3rd interview. In 3 or 4 companies, they made it to the third level. So if they had practiced a little more, labs, I think they would have made it. And some students here have made it. If they were all, Anyway, those interview questions, you must try that. And now start selling your skills. This is the time you need to really get serious and go for a system administration. Anyway, and let me know. I'm gonna, try to. If you want, I can train you for that, right? If you want to go for that. Configuration, partition, schema partition, domain partition, application partition. So there was a schema role. FSMO. One of the FSMO roles was schema, right? Schema master role. There was domain naming master role, then the RID, then there's infrastructure master role, and then PADC emulator. Okay, so these are the partitions. Yes, schema is part of the partition, but FSMO roles are separate, and schema is still part of the Active Directory partition. One of the partition is this. So configuration partition, forest-wide information about the Active Directory structure. Some of the data in these partitions regularly get replicated with other Active Directories, or maybe child domain, maybe tree domains. Okay, what's the difference between child domain and tree domain? Child domain is just hierarchy of yeah. Exactly, it will be totally different name within same forest. So so now we are doing the sites. Sites is a physical portion of the Active Directory. So but we're going to be right after this, I'm gonna quickly do the child domain and tree domain. So because this is related to that, so then we will know that okay, physical portion of Active Directory is domain controllers and sites. Logical portions are child domain. The parent domain, which is the domain we have created, is called parent domain. If you create a child domain and tree domains, these are the only 2 other types of domains that you create, right? So so right after that, we're going to do that. I'm going to show you. But if we understand this, we can go understand better what's coming next. So 4 partitions here: schema partition, and which is forest-wide definitions and rules for creating and manipulating objects and attributes. The question came to interview for me was when my user got deleted. One of the user got accidentally deleted. Will this information be saved in schema? And I was like, wow, nobody asked me that before. Cool. This means, do you know what is schema? And when does it update? Are there any updates to schema? There are updates sometimes, but it's not like day-to-day updates. Schema has nothing to do with that. So, so what is definitions and rules or attributes and classes? So suppose you're constructing a house, you would know that this kind of wood is for outer level of house. This kind of wood I'm gonna use for partitions of rooms, and this kind of wood, or this material will be used for this kind of plastic, this kind of tiles and ceramics will be used for this. So then you introduce some metallics objects as well. Okay, this metallic object will be used for windows, and this metallic object will be used for washroom stuff and everything. So this means the classes and attributes of any material you're using are different. So you have to define that first, that what do they do, and then use them. In schema, it's the same thing. A user, a computer, a group, an OU, they're going to have classes and attributes. It's going to behave that way, that way, that way, that way, that way. SCCM was installation was going on, Exchange installation goes on, SQL Server installation goes on. They all make little changes. Exchange really makes a lot of changes because messaging is connected to users, messaging properties are connected to groups, messaging properties are connected on many levels, right? So it makes some changes when you install Exchange Server. It makes some changes in the classes and attributes. From now on, your mailbox, your user will not only log in, it will not use for login, it will use for emailing as well. And the properties of emails are this, that when you click send and it's gonna go, and when you delete the mail, there will be a mailbox, there will be a database that will be registered in the schema. So schema will just be told from now on, scheme of things will be a little different. But if you delete a mailbox, it doesn't update it there, right? In schema just is told that this is some of the new items that we are introducing, and they're going to work this way. That's all. Do you delete 10,000 mailboxes? Schema has nothing to do with that. So if schema is down, does the authentication and users are they affected? No. Say no to that. And if they really know that you have good hold on those in-depth concepts, that's a very good impression in the start, if they start with that. Otherwise they're going to catch you with simple question at once. This one will come. But anyway, just look in their eyes and confidently answer, and that's enough. Yeah, easier said than done. Every interviewer, just like every human being is different, every interview is different style. But the more interviews you give for system administration, the more you know how to really convince them. Okay, so domain information about domain specific objects. This domain partition is one that's going to be updating or replicating day to day. So you're creating 10,000 users, that's going to be updated here. Day-to-day task, groups, OUs, whatever, printers, servers, clients, whatever you see inside Active Directory, ADUC. What is ADUC? ADUC. Yeah, Active Directory user and computers. ADSS, which we are doing now. AD DS. Was it AD DS? Domains and forest. No, it's not ADDF. So okay, application partition. That's where you can make, you can include information of applications. So Active Directory has to know which application is integrating with Active Directory. So in application partition, it will have information about that application. Can you give an example of that one application, that Active Directory, when after an installation of Active Directory, at once there is one application separate from Active Directory that gets registered inside the application partition. So Active Directory knows, oh, this other application is going to be working with me. It's integrated to me now. Okay. So that application's information will be in the application partition. So when you install Active Directory, one outside application gets registered automatically with Active Directory. What is that application? Anyone knows that? In the domain partition, you will find the information of, okay, this is not part of Active Directory. It works independently, but it's integrated with Active Directory right from the start. That one application. Okay, it's not application. Yes, exactly. DNS is right away integrated with Active Directory. It's not part of Active Directory, right? If you uncheck it, DNS, that's it. You don't have DNS, right? Active Directory will never know. If you do not have Active Directory, you have DNS, but it's not integrated to Active Directory. So in the partition of Active Directory, you will not have DNS's information. It's just working independently now, right? Exchange integrates. Exchange server, when you install, you will find information in application partition of that. Whatever integrates, you're going to find information of in the application partition of Active Directory. You will find the information of that application. SharePoint as well, definitely. There are many other scores of that integrate with actually Active Directory, right? So
what about Radius? Is that
Radius makes changes also in yeah, it integrates with Active Directory, definitely.
from the installation of Active Directory, right?
No, it's not part of the installation. So if you install those NPS services, then it is just like VPN you add. So Radius can also be added. Whatever gets authorized from Active Directory, its information also gets. So DHCP gets authorized specially from Active Directory. So its information goes. So any non-Active Directory item, its information is in the application partition. Domain partition just contains all the day-to-day Active Directory UL computers, whatever's going on there on daily basis. Configuration is all about Active Directory structure. Anyone knows what is Active Directory structure? If in an interview somebody asks, okay, what's Active Directory structure or infrastructure, or how do you divide it? What are the components? So you would be just going for how many child domains are there, how many tree domains are there, how many do you have forest trust? Do you have two independent companies having a forest trust with each other and collaborating with each other? So all this can be whatever is configured in the Active Directory infrastructure can be the information of that can be replicated. The main thing to know here, that not all partitions simultaneously at same time replicate everything. So suppose you created 50 users, that doesn't mean that schema will send updates replicate as well. Oh, there's a 50 users in that domain partition, or configuration, oh, it's responsible for sending the replication or information to the Active Directory. If you have created a child domain, if you created a tree domain, the configuration partition will send information to the configuration partition of all domain controllers, right, installed. But if you made just 50 users, only this portion of Active Directory will send replicate the information. Hey, I've created 50 users, but schema didn't do anything. Schema does not have to send anything. Configuration party did not do anything. You did not create a child domain, tree domain, so it doesn't have to send anything. What is the benefit of that? Yes. So further dividing Active Directory, you save a lot of bandwidth. Hey, whichever portion of Active Directory got updated, just send that information, right? Because you have 10 branches. Oh, some companies have 200 branches, 300 branches, and they all have replica DCs, right? So this means all 300 branches need to know that 50 users have been created. So they don't need to know what configuration partition already has, or schema partition, or application partition. They just need to know if 50 users are there. Yes, only that portion should be replicated. You save a huge amount of bandwidth. If it was not partitioned, definitely again everything will be replicated then throughout the precious bandwidth. right? So if application partition, there is a DNS integration, every other Active Directory would know that if they have a DNS integrated there as well, right? So only certain portions of Active Directory will be replicating and saving your bandwidth. That's why they have partitioned it, right? Just whatever got changed, just update that.
The global catalog, that's the part of that.
Global catalog, exactly.
Portion as well, right?
Exactly. The global catalog also is, so we're going to be doing a child domain installation after that. Then we're going to know that child domain and parent domain do not update domain partition. So you create parent domain 50 users. Child domain has nothing to do with that. Child domain has its own administrative privacy. Strange. So only what gets updated there is global catalog information. So okay, and that's coming now. Characteristics of AD DS replication. Multi-master replication ensures accuracy and consistency and performance. Keep replication traffic to a reasonable level. Key characteristics of Active Directory replication. So what is multi-master replication? What is multi-master anyway? There used to be PDC and BDC. If you have ever heard of that term, or if you know that, PDC was primary domain controller and BDC was backend domain controller. That was before Windows 2000 was released, which is the year 2000 in 1999. So that at that time you can have one PDC or primary domain controller which is just running the whole show, and you can have many BDCs. So it was like active passive, or many passives and one active. So BDC was just on standby. Okay, PDC is down, I'm up. Now Active Directory, so every domain controller can take the change, and that's called multi-master. So every domain controller, you make a change on one domain controller in New York branch, it's going to send its update to all the domain controllers. Master is supposed to send updates, right? So multi-master just means that you can make changes on any domain controller, and that domain controller is going to act like a master, and it's going to replicate these changes to all the other domain controllers just to let them know, hey, there's a change here. So multi-master replication ensures accuracy. Yes, one thing updated in any 300 branches, and you have domain controller in every branch. So somebody is making changes somewhere on any domain controller. All domain controllers must know that. If they are not child domain, they must know that. If they're child domain, we're gonna know that if they have created users or the groups and other things, it's not going to get replicated. Only the global catalog will get replicated and DNS changes. And even if we configure that. So accuracy, consistency, and performance. If all the domain controllers know what is updated in any of the domain controller, so that's we're gonna have accurate information, consistent information, and performance would be good. Because suppose your CEO is visiting Mississauga branch, then he goes to then Hamilton branch, then he goes to other branches. From all branches, he's able to log in at once, easily, because of the multi-master role, that wherever you made the change, whichever domain controller created his account is now replicated to all the domain controllers, so he gets authenticated from whichever branch he is in, right? So key characteristics of Active Directory replication include, so multi-master replication, as we just discussed, that pull replication and store and forward partition. So pull replication is in sites and services. Did you try to manually ever send replication? Did you try replicate now option? Did we ever try that? Yeah, one of the labs we did the sites and services, but we're gonna try to do that again now. What it does is that you can pull information. You as a system administrator just configured a domain controller, suppose, or maybe the domain controller was down, or maybe it was it did not replicate for certain days, so it's way behind. So you go to the domain controller, you fix the problem of replication, why it was not updating from time to time. So maybe a few weeks it missed all the updates. So now you need to pull information from the best domain controller. You as a system administrator would know that which is the best domain controller. So you would want to pull that information from the other domain controller. So that's called pull replication. That oh, you have an update, Mr. Domain Controller? Okay, just give me that. I'm pulling that information or requesting that information from you. Store and forward just means that between two branches, 3 hours, right? By default, replication goes. So this means that for 3 hours, there have been lots of updates going on. They are being stored somewhere, and that is called bridgehead server. I mean, there's a server in the that is responsible. One of the domain controllers is responsible for sending updates to the other branch. That's called bridgehead server. So what is the meaning of store and forward? You, for 3 hours, you're not sending anything, you're just storing that information. Bridgehead server is collecting information from all domain controllers and storing it. Oh, 20 users created there, 50 on that domain controller, 50 groups were created on that domain controller, and that department head was added to another branch, another OU. That was update. Okay, 3 or 4 types of updates. Bridgehead server is storing that, and then when the 3 hour interval is done, at once over the WAN, the bridgehead server sends it to the other side on the branch. On the other branch, there's a bridgehead server that it's just a domain controller, right? That is waiting for that update. And also that other branch bridgehead server is also sending its own updates, which it's stored for 3 hours, right? So this is what store and forward is. That one of the domain controllers in the branch, if the branch has only one domain controller, then that domain controller is bridgehead server as well, right? And bridgehead server is the most important topic ever. Okay, anyway. So bridgehead server is just responsible for storing and forwarding information. If for 3 hours you're not sending any information to another branch, so if there are more than one domain controller, one of them has to be bridgehead server. Automatically they poll for it. There's an election going on, and they poll for it. So the bridgehead server of one branch, which is a domain controller, just stores information for 3 hours and then sends to the bridgehead server of the other branch. If there is only one domain controller, that is the bridgehead server. If there are more than one, then one of them is bridgehead server. That is just responsible for receiving updates or 3 hour updates of the other branch and sending its own 3 hour updates to that branch, right? So that's store and forward. And the partitions, we just know that okay, there are partitions that in specific partitions, whichever partition has an update should be is supposed to send those updates, and not all partitions every time has to send their updates. Automatic generation of an efficient, robust replication topology. Okay, there is automatic generation of. We're gonna see how much automated that is there. Automation is there, and also there are two terminologies coming. KCC. It came in many interviews. So knowledge consistency checker, and its purpose is very simple. But the thing is, I'm just trying to find out that what can come in interview. And ISTG. Okay, so ISTG and KCC are two things that you're going to know, and their concept is very simple. It's just that you need to remember, and whenever you want to impress your interviewer, sometimes, what do you know about Active Directory? So you could start from one side, and Active Directory sites and services, Active Directory users and computers, and Active Directory domains and trusts, and go ahead and say their most difficult terminology. The interviewer will be impressed, because in most cases interviewer will not know these technologies. I mean, maybe some interviewers would have known what is KCC, but they would have forgotten already. So you would already impress them, and there will be like that impression. Oh, okay, this guy knows more. If I ask any stupid question, maybe this guy will know that I don't know that. So then there will be fewer questions. That's the psychology. Just go with the terminology and more difficult terminology, and impress the interviewer. So interviewer will be very careful to follow up with his own questions, right?
Or just ask all your questions.
Yeah, there's one question here. Yeah, in some interviews, well, interviewer was actually asking something. I said, yes, this is possible. Oh, how is it possible? We are stuck for 3 days now. And I was like, oh, if I tell him, I was thinking then he's just going to use that and kick me out, right? So, and if I know and he doesn't know, this means I'm a threat to his job already. So there are 2 or 3 things here.
What happened to your Untitled job? Did you get a call?
They said they're going to be contacting by April.
Oh,
April.
so,
So that's like after 1 month.
why?
Because there are hundreds of system administrators applying for $100 per hour
There's
in
only one job?
3.
Three?
Mm.
And
And-
you're contacting all of them? Like, obviously, if they're recruiter.
Sorry, recruiter is not technical.
I know, I'm saying, like, why is he going to contact all
Oh.
100 people? No.
No, right now it's 100 people. They're shortlisting.
Oh, okay.
They may or may not call. So he did ask me a lot of questions, technical questions, because he was a technical. And now there will be a in-depth technical. So they will
Over the phone, everything?
over the phone, and it will be that team which is actually working there right now. So they would ask questions which they're facing every day, right? If he knows, then call him 3,000 kilometers up in the mountains.
So everything is, like, you're hired before you get there? Is that what it is? Like a Skype interview and that's it?
Yeah, it's all on phone.
Yeah. You're good, you know that.
They would know right away. They would know, because if the team is asking, they are actually doing that job. For that job, they need someone else. They're facing some problems every day now.
Well, what about, like, I know you said that they pay for living expense or something?
Oh yeah,
So you just had to buy food and stuff?
food is from them as well.
No way.
It's your cell phone
Yeah.
and internet. You have to pay. It's too much. Too much. That's why so many
But it's
people
like,
are.
I'll freeze that if I don't work.
If you're dead, you cannot handle their network, so they will keep you alive.
No, I'm saying, like, what about clothes? Like, how do you know what temperature or what?
Oh, they said that we're gonna really. It's just like if they send you the moon, they would make sure that you're ready for the moon.
Oh, yeah.
So they know their environment, and they said we're gonna make sure that you're ready. And they tell a lot in the interview already. Hey, you know that this. The people are harsh. They even say people are harsh. Communities are.
Do they have summer or? No?
Yeah, it's in summer it's full day for weeks, and it's winter it's full night for weeks.
Do they have in Nunavut it's like that too?
Yeah, in Alaska you were saying last time.
Yeah, Alaska was like that. I didn't know Nunavut was like that too.
Yeah. So, but for money they would go to moon or Mars as well. So it's just Nunavut, right? So, hey, if in 1 year you can make for what you can make here in 5 years, wow, anyone would go for that. But anyway, let's see. If you can buy a house in 7 years, 6 years, full house, better house, big house, good house. It's not that good, but
Buy it in 3 years. If you want to buy it in 3 years. Like a big mansion, like a 5 bedroom.
mansion? Okay, now
That is garage.
that's too much. No way. Mansion, no way. Unless you're a very good singer or celebrity. Okay.
You know the bridge and server, is that logical or the actual physical?
So a physical domain controller, if there are 2 or 3 domain controllers, there's a election. Hey, who's gonna be the bridgehead server? So automatically one of them becomes a bridgehead server. So it has to be a physical domain controller opting for an election. Not opting, they have to take part, and one of them have to be a bridgehead server. So it's a physical domain controller.
Based on like the domain thing, it's not based on the child.
No.
Child domain.
No, it's part of the branch. It's the physical thing. So, this string, but this talk about Nunavut that freshened up us. Otherwise, this is dry. It's going dry. But that's coming in the interview, and I'm pointing out those things which you will be saying in interview. And so, yeah, you have to really be serious about that, and start going for system administration. Hey, in first second, third interview, it will be you'll be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Fourth, fifth, you'll take them head on. Then it's your confidence. You will gain that when you know, without failing, you cannot learn. Don't be afraid of failing, right?
You should send him to love and he look for 1,000.
Do you learn?
No, he's like, I sent him and he was like, oh, why didn't you come to class, right? He's like, well, I have no money, man. Like, I'm like, yo, what's going on? He's like, yeah.
To 11. So yeah, he told me the same thing.
I told him, I'm like, oh, why didn't you come? We'll see, figure something out. He's like, no, man.
Oh. Huh?
Yeah, I don't know. He said he's having some financial problems.
Yeah.
He has 3 kids. He has a house.
House as well.
Yeah.
Oops. And it's recording. Yeah. Although it's not gonna get that, but
Yeah.
okay. So yeah. Let's go ahead and how AD DS replication works within a site. So the only thing to know here is I'm not gonna bore you with a lot of things, but there are some important things that we really need to know, and that's why we are here. That's why we just paid, right? That's a lot of money, really, a lot of money. So please take that points for the interview, especially. And KCC. What's the main purpose of KCC? Connection objects for inbound replication to our domain controller, KCC to automatically create topology, efficient maximum 3-hop and robust 2-way topology. It's going to know which domain controllers are where, and it says here it's going to create a automatic topology. But when you go to sites and services, there are some manual steps we have to do. After that, it's going to discover that, and hey, we made it already. Of course, you're going to discover now. So notifications in which the domain controller tells its downstream partners that a change is available. So KCC will make the communication between the domain controller very easy. Knowledge consistency checker. What does that tell you? So whenever I asked in one interview, I was asking, okay, what is KCC? So the guy was saying he knew the abbreviation, knowledge consistency checker, but I knew that he doesn't know what it does. So he just played with the word, and I was like, okay, he thinks I'm fool. Okay, so it consistently checks the knowledge. Second abbreviation, exactly played with the word again. Third, fourth, fifth, then I said, okay, that's it. You're playing with the words. I had to tell him then. Yeah, it was a brown guy. No, it was a full interview. 5 or 6 were going on. So he was the ridiculous one. That, okay, abbreviation, play with that. Same words. It's this.
What?
Like, what? Your English is good, I know.
Best method I've realized is like I always ask like if I don't know if there's a phone interview and they go, I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it? I'm on the computer always for a phone interview. I'm on the computer.
I hope your keys do not make sound.
No, mine doesn't make sound.
Oh, good.
So I'm like this, and then like I'm reading from like, okay, so are you referring to this term? And he's like, yes.
Wow, I did that 2 times actually.
Okay. While he's saying yes, I'm like, I read really quick. So I'm like, okay,
I did that 2 times. Wow. You have to be fast,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
your
yeah.
keyboard. So 2 interviews, I heard the sound. Tuck, 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 tuck.
You heard
It was like, hey, you still didn't get it? It's been 2 minutes.
It's also a skill. Like
Yeah. How fast and, you know.
You're able to understand it quick within like a minute.
Oh, that's fun. The phone interviews. But okay, so polling in which the domain controller checks with its upstream partners for changes. So what it's doing is KCC is just checking if one domain controller having any changes is actually replicating that information to other domain controllers or not. Is there a 2-way communication going on smoothly or not? Anything is not happening in this regard. And what is that upstream and downstream? What do you mean by that? So downstream partners, downstream domain controller directory replication agent replicates changes. What is downstream? And so first domain controller you create, then the second one you create after. Whatever is after is downstream. Whatever is before is upstream. right? So, and although after that, if you make a changes to the second one, those changes will be replicated to the first one. But the thing is that whatever you create after is downstream. It's not like child domain. We're gonna create that, and we're going to you're gonna be that concept will be clear as well. So changes to all partitions held by both domain controllers are replicated. So KCC makes sure replication is going smooth between all the domain controllers. Maybe there are 300 branches, 300 domain controllers are there. Some branches may have 5 domain controllers, 10 domain controllers. Maybe in 300 branches there are 400 domain controllers, or 350 domain controllers, 320 domain controllers. KCC just makes sure that it is working or not. And this is normally actually it's all about domain controllers communicating with each other intra-site replication, right? What is inter-site and intra-site? Inter-site is within one site, and intra-site is between two sites. Okay. Oh, no, I gave away by smiling. Come on. So inter is within one site. No, I again said wrong. Inter-site is within one site, right? Okay, I'm still smiling. Okay, welcome back. No, you were here. Come on. I'm just kidding. So inter-site is between two sites, and intra-site is within one site. Intranet is just like intranet, within one site. Internet between. So when we say intra-site, KCC is making sure that replication between domain controllers within one site is smooth. If replication is any problem between the domain controllers that were created before and after, if there's a problem between them, KCC will automatically create some errors and generate some errors, and it's going to some of the operations it will try to troubleshoot itself automatically. Hey, replication is stopping because of this. I think I can do that, so automatically it starts the flow again. It's just like the blood flow in the body, and there are certain aspects that it just tries to troubleshoot itself. Wow. Yeah.
So KCC runs every is it intra-site or one every 60 seconds?
Within one site.
One every 60 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So KCC is responsible for it's all the communication is going smooth, the traffic is going smooth. But between sites, that's the other feature that so in multi-parser replication models, replication conflicts arise. Replication conflicts will arise. If there's a replication conflict, you're in big trouble. If there's a replication conflict anywhere in your domain controller, between any domain controllers, you really need to go there, because DNS, if it was integrated, it totally depends on Active Directory topology and replication. Exchange, it totally depends on Active Directory topology and replication. So Active Directory replication has to be really going smooth, just like our blood flow should be really smooth. So replication has to be really smooth and going on. Sorry. So the same attribute is changed on two domain controllers simultaneously. If resolving replication conflicts, same attribute you changed on two domain controllers. So normally there are so many administrators and in a large organization, and they are connected to any domain controller, and they're making changes. So there was one ticket. It happened so many times that one ticket came, and one guy who did not click the claim it but started working on it. The other guy, administrator, actually claimed it and started working on it as well. The first guy did not see, oh, I'm just going to check it. Oh yeah, this I just do it now. While the other guy is also on it in some other office or right beside you. And then to conflict, oh, whoa, who's doing that already? Oh, somebody did it already? Okay, cool. Whoa. And then there's an investigation that, hey, why didn't you claim it first? So, and why didn't you see that somebody else is on it already? Anyway, so if that happens, automatic resolution of that, whichever was first would be decided by the Active Directory and would just carry on with that. An object is moved or added to a deleted container on another domain controller. So deleted container was, I think we did that. We deleted an object and we recovered it, right? What was the feature that we enabled?
Recycle bin.
Active Directory recycle bin. Two objects with the same relative distinguished name are added to the same container on two different domain controllers. So anyone knows relative distinguished name? So it's suppose there's an OU called accounts inside the domain called mydomain.local. So the distinguished name will be they put it in the way that OU equals it just shows the whole path. OU equals accounts, comma DC equals mydomain, comma DC equals local. Mydomain.local was the domain name. So before dot, after dot, DC equals, if it was toronto.mydomain.local, then it will be DC equals Toronto, DC equals mydomain, DC equals local. But if it was a child OU of the parent OU, so parent OU is that accounts, child OU is the accounts computers. So then it will be OU equals account computers, comma OU equals the accounts department, and then DC, DC, DC. So when we see a distinguished name in this way, we exactly know where is that object located inside what is the whole path. Where can I see that now if I want? Where can I go in Active Directory and see that exact OU? And if it is the user equals this, and then OU equals this. Anyone knows where to see that? Properties, exactly. Let me just quickly show that, because if they ask distinguished name, you would be able to. Oh, we have to first start the machines, I guess. And why the Humber machines are up? Okay. In my class, we are so used to doing practicals that when it comes to theory, and if it prolongs, it becomes a little. But some of the theory will get you the job, and save your job as well. Numbers are moving. Okay, so while it is starting, let's just go ahead and I'm going to show you the distinguished name. There's ADSI edit. Do you know? Have you ever heard of ADSI edit? ADSI edit. So you could see inside the skeletal structure of Active Directory. You can see all the distinguished name. I'm going to show you this after Active Directory. If you go to Tools and click ADSI edit right away, and you need to do something further, and then you can see the skeletal structure of Active Directory. It's like you're seeing the human is there, and in the scanner it's showing you all your bones. So that is like distinguished names are just showing in paths. That's it. Path after path after path. So, sorry? Oh, yes. Port number. Okay, this is I guess it's a little different because I don't remember showing this. So this is Tools, and this is ADSI edit. Are you able to see that? ADSI edit, Tools. When you install Active Directory, it's there. Active Directory Services Interfaces Editor. That's why I didn't try to say that abbreviation. Active Directory Services Interfaces Editor, ADSI edit, is a low-level editor for Active Directory domain services, Active Directory lightweight directory services. It allows you to view, modify, create, and delete any object in Microsoft's AD DS, LDDS. Lightweight directory services is actually just a copy of schema. You can create a copy of schema and give it to other applications to connect to the schema without hurting your actual real schema. So AD LDS is used for giving copy of your schema. Okay, so how do we connect to that? I'm just gonna right click there, and connect to is the only option there. So right click ADSI edit, connect to. When you connect to, there is that default naming context showing there in name, and here, sorry, there is that partitions domain default naming context. Then there is configuration partition, root DSE, and schema partition. that you can go inside and check. But we're gonna just go for default here, and I'm just gonna click. If it's a separate domain, you want to go inside and see the inside that domain, you can try the domain name here if we had a separate domain. But I'm just gonna keep the defaults and go OK. Excuse me, I haven't had donut today and still there's okay, anyway. So default naming context is there. So our domain name is sysnetdomain.local, right? Sysnetdomain.local. And if you double click now you will see the low level editor of that. What did they mean by low level editor? So we are not supposed to come here, first of all, until it's the last, unless it's the last resort, right? And CN is showing, if I go to some deeper structure, I think we did not make any, but CN is equal to, CN means common name, and it's just showing the path. It's supposed to show the path. If we create a longer path, it's going to start showing the longer path. OU, there's an OU equals domain controllers, and then there's just a common name called DC01. But if you go to the path, that's what I was saying. CN equals DC01, OU equals domain controllers, DC equals sysnet domain, DC equals local. So it gives the path. This is called distinguished name, right? So distinguished name, we should understand that this is how it is. Oh, it says there. So anyway, so distinguished name is this. What is distinguished name? It just shows you the path in this particular format. In this particular format, right? Now it's clearer. Sorry? No, it's still the low level editor. We are still editing Active Directory using computers. That's a user friendly way of doing that. This is the less friendlier way of doing that. But we are still in ADUC, Active Directory using computers. But why are we here, and what can we do here? Microsoft does not recommend to come here. Just like in registry, Microsoft always warns that, hey, registry is very critical for the all the configurations of Active Directory. Oh, not for that system, not Active Directory. So don't go there. But when you talk about attribute, if you right click any of those, you will see this, although this shows there in the Active Directory using computers as well. But this will show you a lot of attributes for that particular object. And if we do our homework perfectly, so then RID, through the RID master, and the machine account, SAM account for the machine, and then there is some common information here, where it is located in the schema, and what is the operating system type, Windows. But we can change some of the attributes as well. We have to be just very careful. We are just changing the behavior of one object, right? So there are certain conditions where Microsoft offers step-by-step document. Hey, go there, go through this ADSI edit and just change this, and this issue should be resolved if there is a bug, specific bug here. Then you have to be really careful about that. You just follow the document, just like for registry change, they give you a document and to follow. So that's what they do here as well. Okay, so let's just go there, and so we know that what is distinguished name and where do we access that. So two objects with the same relative distinguished name are added to the same container on two different domain controllers, then also it will resolve these issues. To resolve replication conflicts, version number, timestamp, server GUID. What is a replication conflict? What do you know by it? What do you understand by this? Replication conflict occurred means, so something that was being replicated is also being replicated somewhere else as well. Sysprep, kinda, but not exactly. But the thing is that a replication conflict just means that there's some same thing being replicated to all the domain controllers, which is created somewhere else, and which one should be considered the authentic one. You just need to know that, or that domain controllers need to know, hey, there's a change here, there's a change here, if I accept this one looks the same as well. Maybe there's a difference, or maybe it's the exact same thing. Excuse me. Well, some frog stuck. Oh, anyway. Okay, version number. If you create 10 users in one domain controller, and the other domain controller you did not create that, right? So one version or number will change of that domain controller. That because there was a change, it traces the change. Version number traces the change. There was one change made, so the domain controller version number will be higher where you made the change, and the other domain controller version number will be lower. What significance that gives us? The other domain controller would want to reach that version number. How would the other domain controller do that? By whatever was changed is replicated to that domain controller. They are both on the same version number. This means whatever is here is exact copy there as well. If version numbers are different of domain controllers, that lower version number domain controller has to ask hey, you have some changes, give it to me, man. So if those users, whatever you created, logged into through me, I don't know those users at all, and you know. So as soon as a as soon as the version number is changed, at once replication happens. If replication is not happening, go make it, do it, make it. So just try to know what is wrong with that application, and at once, because those users try to log in from there, or any applications trying to look up for those users, and they're not going to find with that domain controller. This means there's a replication problem. So what is timestamp? 1 millisecond before one object was created, and this cannot even represent a millisecond, right? So it's all about what was created a little earlier. So at once, okay, authentic, first take that, reject this. If it was a conflict for the same thing, that administrator was creating, but he was a little slow, and this is a timestamp which is earlier. Take that. Server GUID. A replication from one server is coming and a replication from other servers coming. They're both creating the same user, exact same information. So we can actually configure that. Hey, we trust anything coming from that particular server. Server GUID. You define that any change made on the server, and if there's a conflict, the server GUID. Oh, this is the root DC. Okay, this is the GUID for that. Accept that if there's a conflict between any other server coming, somebody creates something there, somebody created something there. Whoever is working on that particular GUID server, GUID is just like very long alphanumeric number, which really gives, it's like an address for a server. GUID, just like SID. So GUID address is unique across the forest. SID is unique across. Yeah. So SID is unique across the domain. When you migrate a user from one domain to another, it just gets another SID. When you migrate the user from one domain to another, the GUID remains the same. The SID changes, right? But the GUID remains the same. GUID is like universal thing, right? One object is migrated, SID changes. SID is domain level. If it's a domain level migration. If it's OU to OU, SID changes. True or false? It's the same domain. Exactly. So, and GUID is across the forest, right? Actually, it's across multiple forests. Yeah, it's a globally unique identifier. Globally, right?
So you use KCC to monitor this?
KCC monitors exactly. KCC is making sure within one site replication is smooth, and exactly it's going to resolve the conflict if it is resolvable by KCC through these.
So that's something that's happening automatically if it's happening.
It's all automatic.
Okay.
It's all happening in the background. We are not configuring version number. We are not configuring timestamp. We can mess with them. There are commands to actually make some changes if you're that level of administrator and you really know the repercussions of that. If what will happen, I don't care about that. But if you really know what you're doing, go ahead and you can just dedicate some other server's GUID, hey, this is authentic, any changes coming from that and there's a conflict, just take this as an authentic, that domain controller as authentic.
So if there's any conflict, the majority times, like the administrator do you want to it is a handle automatically.
Yeah.
But if you how do you know?
Oh, error pops up.
Yeah, but
Try to create the same thing in two sites. One thing will be rejected automatically. Second thing will be implemented automatically.
okay.
Error will pop up for the second one. Hey, it's already there. I won't let you create that.
Alright.
And but there are many other levels of conflicts that happen where same things are being, because there are so many domain controllers and they're all masters, multi-master structure. You can make changes here and that we will just take it and we will try to sell it to others or replicate to others. But if it's already there, then I have to resolve the conflict now. Then Mr. KCC, go for version number, go for timestamp, go for server GUID, whatever you want to do, but same item, we cannot have same items. So resolve it your own way in the background. How the replication topology is generated. So this is very interesting to show. What is going on now? Domain B topology is, there's a B catalog, global catalog server, B2, B3. So this is, one domain. Domain controllers in another domain. So physically they are available here, B1, B2, B3. And let me just show you one more thing. What is this? Schema and configuration topology is represented by gray lines. Domain A topology and domain B topology, right? Domain A, global catalog server, all black arrows. You can see where black arrows are going. So global catalog server A1 and global catalog server B1 are there, and then there is a global catalog server here at A4, right? So global catalog servers are supposed to update global catalog servers, and for domain A, and schema and topology configuration. What is going on here? Every domain controller is sharing schema configuration and configuration topology. So this means there are 4 partitions: schema partition, configuration partition. Every domain controller is able to replicate to each other, while global catalog, now it has gone to specific. If there is a global catalog server in B domain in Toronto branch, and if there are 3 branches, so B domain has 3 branches: Toronto, Mississauga, Brampton. Toronto and Brampton only have global catalog server. The Mississauga does not have a global catalog server, but it's part of the B domain. So true or false? Global catalog server information will be replicated to all 3 branches. Global catalog server role is installed in Toronto and Brampton. Domain controller is in all 3 branches. True or false? Global catalog information will be replicated to all 3 branches. Right? Whatever has the role, exactly. Toronto Brampton has the global catalog role installed, but domain controller is there in Mississauga as well, which means I didn't say that role installed. This means it does not have a global catalog server role.
Yeah.
Of course, there is no replication going to Mississauga, but 2 will have the replication going. So wherever is the role installed, replication will just touch that. But as a domain controller and partition of schema, partition of configuration, whatever changes are made, every domain controller will replicate that. But if global catalog is there, it's going to replicate. If it's not there, it's not. Obviously, it's not going to replicate. What is the function of the global catalog server? Function. Index.
Partial information on like whatever, like for example, user agreement. So you see like a direction, like where it's
Yep.
actually located.
So it's indexing or forest wide search, right? And also user log on. It helps user logging the user on. What is this? Global catalog replication, of course, wherever is global catalog role. Of course, there's only, and this is domain A and this is domain B, but global catalog servers are replicating. Why? They are different domains, but why is it replicating for interdomain? Because it's a forest-wide role, right? I mean, within the forest, it's going to offer forest-wide indexing or searching. So that's why it's going to offer global catalog server in multiple domains. Is going to just communicate. They don't care. Oh, you're a different domain. You're a same domain. We don't care. We just have to update each other because it's a search that they're supporting. RODC replication works. When RODC is implemented, the KCC detects that it is an RODC and creates one-way only connection objects from one or more source domain controllers. You know what was the connector we talked about? Maybe we talked about it, but I'm going to show you now. Oh, I need two domain controllers. Did I say I need two domain controllers? Okay, yeah, I did. We're going to create now. Because we need to. So guys, while we're talking about that, let's create a replica DC quickly so we could talk about some information about Active Directory. So we have 4 machines from the last lab, right? So we're gonna just the middle 2 machines are right now clustered. We can add a replica DC role to any of those machines, but I'm just starting machine number 4, which is just used for SAN, right? So we had 2 disks and we configured it as a sandbox in the last lab of clustering. So I'm just adding, I've already started the first machine. Yep. And I'm starting the 4th machine. Although the clustered machines, if they have replica DC role, they might give a conflict. And we're not using clustering anymore. I mean, like we implemented it, we tested it successfully. If we had created a snapshot of that, we can just come back to that. And luckily, I did not. Luckily, oh shoot. Well, I can uninstall the clustering service. That's all I need to do to make it usable again for next labs. And next Saturday, we're going to be going for live motion, which is we need 2 Hyper-V machines, and then we're going to, try to do the crash test for, Hyper-V has offered, live machine migration in a very strange way, and I'm gonna tell you what is the comparison between VMware vMotion, where users are connected to a machine and you migrate that machine to another physical computer and they don't know anything what happened in the background while the whole migration of machine is going on and one physical host is going down. So but Microsoft, they have offered some strange ways to do that, which is not which VMware now caught up with.
Clustering cannot be clustered.
We can use cluster. Oh, for this DC lab, or the VMware. Oh, Hyper-V. Oh.
I have to revert back to just without clustering function.
Yeah, without clustering. We don't need clustering anymore because we tested one file server on that, and the purpose of testing the cluster is done. That this is how cluster works. So. I'm logged into domain controller there. I'm just going to log into member server, which is the 4th machine I'm starting. You can start 2nd machine, 3rd machine. It's up to you. So I'm just going to quickly go for replica DC and go back to the concepts. These are some of the major things that, many of these things come in interview because they are all concerned about replication. They're all concerned about sites and services. And many of the companies have branches, so they always are looking for, okay, are you really taking care of our branches? Is the Active Directory replication really going on fine? All the applications that are depending on the Active Directory replication, are they really working as well? And are they fine? So I'm just adding the binary files of Active Directory here on the 2nd machine, replica DC drill. Oh, while the binaries are installed, and if I did not take the snapshot, and if I want to go back, although I could just uninstall that as well. Uninstalling replica DC is easier. Uninstalling child domain and tree domain are a pain. And right after that, we're gonna just I'm gonna show child domain, and then you're gonna see in the context of sites and services that, oh, okay, that's how it appears. So we're gonna pretend we have 6 branches. Sites and services is gonna show that. Are we all able to start? Oh, okay, you guys are using local PCs here, so you won't be able to start 4 machines at the same time, right? Did you try that? 4 machines? They worked slow, but they worked. But they worked, right? Cool. There are no 4 machines there, right? Because they're not created. Is there a 1 machine? I think Anil.
Right now, whether that's on.
Yeah, Anil has. Yeah, 2 machines are there. Uh-huh. Okay, so while it is installing the binaries, I'll just go back to the concept so we could clear it quickly. While we are creating a replica DC, the only thing about RODC is, of course, it's a one-way replication, right? So we know that, and we install that. So KCC detects, oh, it's a RODC, okay, I'm gonna just enable one-way replication. What I wanted to show there was the connectors, the connection objects. I will show that right as soon as we are done with the installation of this. And what is the importance of the connection objects, and once I had to create them manually, but that's when you're sure that replication has some big issue, then you go as a last resort to create that connector object. When we are able to install that today, you know what, I'm gonna start the other machines as well, because I need to show you the replica DC and not replica DC, replica DC I'm installing, that child domain and tree domain, and they're very interesting concepts, and well, there are just very specific scenarios for that, but you need to know the scenarios and how they're deployed. It's all I'm just modifying this sites and services into sites and services plus child domain plus tree domain, and later forest trust. It's all big now. So scenario is we have 1 root DC, 1 child domain, 1 tree domain, and our sites and services should represent all 3 domain control. It should show exact configuration what's going on. So I'm just gonna put all the blocks and fill all the gaps now. But if I just go to the canvas, oh, should I call it canvas? Yeah. So this is how it's going to look like now, and so we're on the same page. That's why I'm just creating those. So this was the diagram we were creating for the last lab. So now this is the root DC. This second one, I'm just gonna turn it into child domain. It is a member server. I'm gonna turn it into child domain, then I'm gonna just try to fix everything. So this I'm turning into tree domain, and the concepts, while we're installing these, we're gonna talk about the scenarios. Why would we need them? And this is just a replica DC. So I'm just going for 4. You can just create replica DC on 2. You can just put any of those DC on any of those, right? I'm just putting it this way. There's no sequence to that. Replica DC is here, tree domain, child domain, root DC is here. So here, and I'm going to configure the Active Directory sites and services, ADSS sites and services, and it should have 6 branches. I mean, we're gonna pretend they have 6 branches. All branches subnets must be configured. We're going to configure those. And then site topology, site links must be configured. That's going to tell you a good feature about that. And modify default replication interval between sites. So we're gonna know, oh, we can modify from here. Okay, good. Also, all DCs wow, it's continuous, so it's part of the today's lecture. Just like there was a drill going on there one day, so there's okay, all DCs must be showing on first site, and then we will transfer them. So we need to meet these objectives, and that's going to really tell us how can we play with this environment. So we're pretending we have 6 branches, so 6 sites we're going to create. 6 sites will be created, all branches, subnets. Then we're going to start configuring sites. Then all the sites we're going to talk about site links. What are site links? How we configure subnets, and also what are connectors. I need to show you connectors in sites, ADSS, Active Sites and Services. So some of these objectives will cover most of this topic, or all of it topic. Okay, so these objectives are there, and these 4 machines are there. I have started for all 4 machines. Replica DC, I'm just going to go for that just to show or cover the basics of sites and services. So I'm just going back to the 4th machine. Binary files of the Active Directory are installed. Close. I'm going to go for the yellow circle there. Triangle, not circle. Oh, it was never circle. Why did I say circle? Anyway, promote the server to a domain controller. The 4th machine, you can go for 2nd machine, 3rd machine as a domain controller. So add a domain controller to an existing domain. If I wanted to create a child domain, what do I do? If I wanted to create a child domain, second option, this is the child domain option, and if I click here, there is a tree domain option here as well, right? For these two to happen, I need to have at least the Active Directory binaries installed on these two as well, right? So we're going to come back to add a new domain to an existing forest for child domain and tree domain. But right now I'm just sticking to Replica DC. So we have all kinds of domain controllers here in one lab. That's all. These are the kinds. Either it could be a Replica DC, Replica domain controller. It could be a child domain controller, and then it could be a tree domain controller. And then we can also have child domain replica DC. When I say child domain replica DC, what does that mean? More than one domain controller or just one domain controller? First domain controller is always called root DC. Whenever we say additional domain controller, that the word says it, right? There is more than one domain controller. Or whenever we say replica DC, it's a copy of something. So there's more than one, right? So replica DC of tree domain means second domain controller of the tree domain. This means the root DC is of course already there. That's how we created a root domain, right? So I'm just going to go for replica DC of the parent domain, right? If I wanted to add more domain controllers, I would have just gone to this picture, and I would have created here replica DC of the child domain controller, replica DC of the tree domain controller, while I have this replica DC of this root already I'm installing, right? So if child domain wants to have a root DC plus replica DC, so I'm just putting replica in the smaller diagram just to show you that how it would look like for root DC of tree domain and replica of that. It's a helper, right? It's an additional domain controller. Replica DC for this, replica DC for that. So we do understand that it's becoming complicateder now. Complicateder. Yeah. I'm just coming up with words now. Oh. Complicateder. Okay. So root DC of the parent domain. Parent domain is, in our case, what? Sysnet.local. Sysnet domain dot local is what we created. This is a parent domain. Seriously, I need to get rid of this line, but okay. So I'm just showing here root DC and replica DCs of all three types of domains we can create inside the forest. It's like these are two different labs, child domain and tree domain, but I just included everything in one lab, so we could see the big picture here. So there is that parent domain root DC, and let me just now put this here. So it is still the parent domain replica DC. The replica DC is of parent domain, right? Then child domain root DC and replica of child domain, and tree domain root DC and replica of parent domain or tree domain. So and okay, now I need to name the child domain as well. Child domain would be anything, Toronto or Brampton dot sysnet domain dot local. This is an example of our child domain we're gonna create. And then tree domain has to be totally separate. So we can just go for, it's a separate company, a group of companies having as another company, but they want their employees to be in the same forest, right? So I'm just gonna create, just to show you the map of what we're about to do. So tree domain could be, okay, whatever business we were doing, this is a separate business. So cars dot local. So sysnet domain dot local, cars domain dot local. While it is exactly the same forest, it's a totally different name. So its replica DC will be server2 dot cars domain dot local. Brampton dot sysnet domain dot local is the child domain. Its replica DC would be server2 dot Brampton dot sysnet domain dot local. And parent domain DC is server1 dot sysnet domain dot local, and replica DC will be server2 dot sysnet domain dot local, right? So it just shows that what is replica DC, what is child domain and its root DC and replica DC, what is tree domain and its root domain, root DC. I should have written it here as root DC. Root DC and its seriously, need to really go ahead with that. So I hope this is understandable, that child domain, I'm about to create now, and the tree domain, if we wanted to have a replica DC, these replica DC will be the replica DCs of the child domain, not the parent domain, right? Right now what I'm step one is again that let's just create replica DC and show in sites and services how they look like. So I'm just going for parent domain root DC, which is already there, and replica of that. So I'm just going back there, and then I'm gonna go step 2 and 3 for child domain. So now I'm creating a replica DC of this parent domain. Why I'm creating that? In sites and services, now it's going to start showing you that way. And it's not accepting that. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Why it's not accepting that? What? Do I have a firewall on? Yep, I have. On parent root DC, I have a firewall on, so let me just check that again. Next. Are you okay with that now? Or is there something wrong? Something else wrong? And do I have internet cards up? Oh, there is something else wrong. Am I able to... Oh, is there a firewall on here as well? Nope. Second thing, am I able to ping? So, what are the IP addresses?
Why is this chat domain also DC like one?
Sorry?
Why did you make the chat domain also as a root DC?
Exactly. Good question. So, guys, why am I writing root DC to there? Every domain, when you create, is the first DC of that particular domain is the root DC. First DC. I can say first DC as well. So, parent domain root DC would now mean the first domain that helped us create the forest. Any other domain, we will never call it parent domain. Or root domain as well. There's another terminology for that. Root domain, the first domain, now we know. But root DC of any child domain, we have 300 branches. Suppose you created 300 child domains. Every child domain will be created by its first DC. So that's called root DC of that particular domain. So tree domain has root DC and replica DC. So that's how, yeah. And let's go ahead. So I am not able to communicate 169.254. Seriously, 192.168, 200.1. So I'm just going to try to ping here. Ping 192.168.200.1. Ping, and I cannot ping it. Woo! What? Seriously? Okay, I think it's the VMnet card thingy. So VMnet 12. But how did clustering work? Anyway, VMnet 12 is there, and what are you on? Definitely it's not VMnet 12, and it is. Okay, it sucks even more now. Maybe the gateway 200.4. Are you kidding me? 168, 200.1, and yeah. Okay. Just to remove more confusion, I'm just gonna remove the second network card, just to make sure we're on the. It's not this, but it is a serious now. So replica DC is not able to communicate with. So. Network card's gone. Let's see which one went away. Okay. Yeah. Seriously. Don't give me that. 200.1. Destination host unreachable. 200.4. Okay, ping 192.168, 200.4. Huh, they cannot ping each other. Woo! Okay. Request timeout. There's something we did in the clustering that would have affected this. Like what?
Yeah, the thing we did was add the heartbeat and forgot.
Which is just for the middle two, and this is a SAN and the domain controller. So they were the most harmless ones. Um, maybe there's a basic IP address, but how did
Oh, the next no, that was the front.
for the middle two?
Yeah.
And this network card, that's why I went for SAN, because I did not mess up here anything. But it's not pinging at all. Well, there's always a solution. So I'm just gonna remove the only network card and just introduce a new network cards, two network cards, and tell them to communicate the better. We have net 12. Remove. This is the most desperate step of all times. So just remove the whole thing. The network cards, no network anymore. Woohoo! We have a new kind of domain here. So I'm just gonna add new network card here and put the IP address there and expect it to work. So again, custom VMnet 12. Finish. Okay. Quick. Oh, seriously. Need to really get rid of this now. Again. Second network card. Go, man. We ain't got all day for this. Network next. It's slow?
Like one machine didn't boot up around.
One machine only.
No, one machine booted up, the other one is black.
Ah, Anil was, yeah, when I was saying you're following, he would first think for a millisecond, okay, and I would know, alright.
It's a good machine, I think it's the hard drive.
Oh, wow.
It's a 16 gig machine with the Xeon 454. It's two it's dual core now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the same thing at home, like on the laptop. I use SSD.
And it is,
This one is the Xeon.
but it's fast because it's just one machine right now. One virtual machine open.
Yeah, no, I tried running two and I can't run.
You cannot. Like, there's an error. Oh, okay.
It just takes like
Oh, it's slow.
15 minutes to load it. It's a loading screen.
Ouch. I asked Sam for this, but
But what do you do at school over there?
in,
The colleges, like the actual colleges?
oh, they bring their own laptops.
And they have what, SSD on it?
Yeah, one of them has SSDs on all of them. One of them just bring your own BYO virtual, laptop. Bring your own L.
College doesn't provide like, oh, you can...
No, they have the one of the college has the machine that suck really bad, and the other college they put very good investment on the machines. It's like 70 or 80 machines, one big hall. So all the million classes happen there. So we need to fight for spot. Hey, 1 hour for my class, please. On the end of the week, just 1 hour.
You don't need the Seneca, right?
Nope, not yet. Trying. I don't know about that. Hey, really, I need to pause now. Starting while we're in the break. So I'm just going for the fourth machine as a replica DC, and since I added the two cards, there was something wrong with those cards, so I added it. They are just promote this server. Yeah, I already was on this screen. Let's see if it starts again. If it, oh yeah, we're good. It was the network cards. I added the new network cards and they had the IP address already there. Wow, they just copied that configuration. Strange. Cool. Somehow. I have no idea why. How. Okay, so replica DC on the fourth machine. I'm just putting the password and next finish. That's it. Simple install, right? DNS. Any domain controller. I have just one, but I'm just gonna go specific to that domain controller DC01, even if I have just one. So next finish. That's all. Nothing here. I think I'm gonna ask Jay, but he comes from night job, right? Yeah, I'm gonna ask him because he's always, tired a little. And anyone won anything? Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna do that on that cup. Zero. So just to add this role to the rest of the machines, which are actually were part of the clustering in the last lab. So I need to dismantle that configuration of clustering by getting rid of the second network cards, actually third network cards, which were for heartbeat. I'm just gonna get rid of the heartbeat network cards from the 2 and go back in. If these network cards also mess with me, then I have to really go for removing these cards as well, second network card or even the first network card as well. Also, I'm just gonna uninstall the role of clustering. So this add remove roles, next, and 2, and clustering is actually a feature, so I'm just gonna go next, and there it is, available clustering, and I cannot remove it because I did not go properly. Remove roles and features, next, 2, next. Let's go to the feature directly, failure clustering, remove features, next. If you need to restart, go ahead, same for the next one. Oh, it started itself. Okay, replica DC is back. So the machine number 4, replica DC. Now, and this is what I've done already. This is what we already have: a parent root domain root DC, and now root domain or parent domain replica DC. I've just installed and it's restarting. What I need to do is that I need to show first what we were talking about. Sites and services and the 2 domain controls should be showing here. So I'm just stopping here for now in terms of creating the extra domains. First, just the root DC and the replica DC of the root domain or the parent domain. These 2 domain controllers I only have right now, and let's see if sites and services concepts are clear there. While I need to just go through some more concepts here. Oh, some more. Okay, that sucks. Anyway, I'm just gonna go fly over to more concepts here as well. Syswall replication works. Yes, Syswall was, anyone knows? Policies, scripts, which we do what with?
Where they're stored.
Where they're stored and distributed. Stored and distributed across the domain, right? So yeah, so syswall replication is the most important among the replication items. If that's not replicated, we are done with. I mean, no group policy will be implemented, no logon scripts will be implemented, and that's it. End of something. Okay, then there is AD configuring. Yeah, that's where we want to go now. Sites identify network locations with fast reliable network connections. Sites are associated with subnet objects. Sites are used to manage replication. And service localization. What is service localization? There is an option Okay, users in this branch A2, if they don't have a domain controller local, what do? They will have to, their login or authentication request will travel over the WAN, and they will go to the nearest domain controller for authentication to log in, basically, right? If you localize the service and put a local replica DC here, of course their authentication service will be handled locally. So localization, service localization just means that you put DNS locally here, you put Active Directory locally here, and global catalog here, so that none of this traffic will have to travel over the WAN to the first one. So that's called service localization. Make the service locally available, right? Now I'm playing with the words. So, but it's easy, right? So sites for replication and of domain controllers and for service localization, they are used. Implement additional sites. Why do we do that? Create additional sites when a part of the network is separated by a slow link. You know what's a slow link? WAN is considered the slow link, of course, compared to the LAN, of course. A part of the network has enough users to warrant hosting domain controllers or other users or other services in that location. So there's a separate location, and there are enough users that are logging in, and their logging or authentication traffic is going slow. So get them a new site so they could have a local domain controller there. You want to control service localization. Again, that's why we implement sites. We need service localization. And then there is, you want to control replication between domain controllers. So that's the other reason. So that's why we are creating so enough users to warrant user domain controllers would be the point here. That's why we would create, or separated by a slow link would be the fourth point here. And how replication works between sites. Replication within sites assumes fast, inexpensive, and highly reliable network within site, does not compress traffic, uses a change notification mechanism. This is internal site. Replication between sites, between two sites, these two sites, so assumes higher cost. Higher cost means not exactly. Higher cost means in Cisco terms or cost. Bandwidth, yeah. More hops. There's one hop right now there. That could be, if you're talking about router hops. If you're talking about server hops, there could be, you know, more. A router is just second hop. So higher cost just means it will be, what is the latency? How fast it could go. If it goes slow, it's higher cost of, you know, it's the bandwidth or it's the slowness of the packet. That this means, oh, it's this is high cost, this is low cost. Low cost means that it's going to go fast. High cost means just that it's going to go slow. So slow WAN link means that it's comparing to fast LAN links, local links. It's going to be slow, so higher cost is yours. The traffic will be slow. Don't expect it with the LAN speeds. It's a WAN speed round, right? So limited bandwidth, of course, it's not like LAN. We're talking about inter-site now. And unreliable network links. Yes, over the WAN, it's not that reliable, right? And has the ability to compress replication. So the data can be compressed and sent there. So smaller data would be, smaller size means that less bandwidth will be used. Occurs on a configured schedule. Yeah, you have to have a schedule for that. 3 hours, we know that. Can be configured for immediate and urgent replications. We will do that now, how to configure them separate. So every half hour you want to replicate, right? So KCC was working, knowledge consistency checker was working within site. ISTG works between sites. Now the second interview question where you can really impress the interviewer, ISTG and KCC, and I configured KCC as well as I configured ISTG, and if the interviewer doesn't know that, they are automatically working. You don't configure them. So, oh no, if he knows, then go for, we can modify the changes there. We can do some scripts to modify the schedule, and just go for sites and services. We can just change the schedule from 180 to 1 hour instead of 3 hours of replication between intersite, and then ISTG will pick that up, between replication between the sites. So you can cover that up as well. But if he doesn't know, wow, you already impressed that guy. Okay, but over qualification should not come in then. Okay, ISTG defines the replication between AD DS sites on a network. So KCC within site, ISTG between sites. One major difference. Optimizing domain controller coverage in multiple site scenarios. Domain controllers register SRV records. Anyone knows what is SRV records? We're talking about DHCP, right?
Service record?
Yeah, in DHCP, SRV records are created. Just look when I start smiling, right? Yeah, it's DNS. So SRV records are used in DNS. What is the main purpose of SRV records? Where are they? If I just quickly show you that, I'm sure we talked about, we saw that, right? We go to DNS and we go to DNS manager. And when we go there, forward lookup zone and sysnet domain.local sites, default for site name, TCP, now SRV records, which is service location. The clients have to know where is my nearest Active Directory, where is my nearest DNS, where is my nearest global catalog server. The clients will be redirected to those if SRV records are there for that particular domain controller. I have a SAN DC, I have a SAN which is now replica DC. It was a sandbox before in last lab. So DC01 and SAN01, they both have DNS, they both have Kerberos, they both have global catalog server. It's not going to show DNS here, but name resolution services are there as well. LDAP service, Kerberos, global catalog, both are available on both servers. One DC01 is the root DC of the root domain. SAN01 is the replica DC of the root domain, right? So my fourth server is now replica DC. What I wanted to show in terms of sites and services is that on my domain controller, now I'm on my domain controller and I need to root DC and I need to go to tools and sites and services, Active Directory sites and services. Once we go to Active Directory sites and services, it should be now showing my second domain controller. So if you start the Active Directory sites and services on either the replica DC or your root DC for the parent domain, it's just going to show the same thing, right? So is the replication going on, or first of all we need to see where are those two domain controllers showing in the sites and services. So if I go to sites and services, under the default first site name and then DC01 and SAN01 are showing there. What I was talking about, the connector, if you expand the two domain controllers, one is the root, second is the replica, and go to NTDS settings. When you go to NTDS settings, this is a DC01 NTDS settings. If you go to the right side, oh wow, that's pretty clear. Not. Hey, nobody told me that. Okay, so I'm in Active Directory sites and services, default for site name, DC01 NTDS settings, and SAN01 NTDS settings. These are two domain controllers we have. If you go to the NTDS settings, to the right side there is automatically generated a connector available. This is called connector, and this connector is connecting SAN01, which is the name of my second domain controller, to DC01. If I go to SAN01, there's a connector available here that is connecting SAN01 to DC01. If I go back to the entity settings on DC01, to the right side the connector is available. KCC makes sure the connector is created. If it is not created, it tries to create that or give it time. If you do not see a connector, then right click and you can create a new connector between the two domain controllers for successful replication. Second thing, if SAN01 was somehow not replicating, and now you know that, oh, version number of DC01 is more, or the more I just created 100 users here and it's not created there in SAN01, or they're not showing there in SAN01. So you need to make a manual replication. How do you do that? Right click,
They can replicate.
yeah, replicate now. So what's happening here now? Which way the replication will flow? From who to who? From SAN1 to DC01, or from DC01 to SAN1?
From if you started from here, right? It's from here to whatever.
So I'm inside the DC01's connector, and if I click replicate now, this means, oh, Mr. DC01, are you trying to pull the replication from SAN01? Because from server, under from server is written SAN01. So if I go to the SAN server and right click, of course, now SAN is pulling information from the root DC or DC01, exactly. Connectors are these. They are, and KCC makes sure the connectors are established or available. When I create child domain, entry domain, those two domain controllers will also start showing up here, and their connectors should be showing here as well, right? But since we're here now, there's only one site showing here. There is subnets folder here. There is inter-site transports folder here. And if I expand that inter-site transport folder, there is IP and SMTP. And inside the IP, there is site link here. So this is all what we need to understand. What are those things? So first of all, let's create 6 sites. So default for site name, I'm just renaming that to Toronto. First thing. Second, this the other 5 sites are imaginary, right? So we can just start creating them. How do we create a site? Right click, site, because we need to further understand the components of when we create a site. So this is a scenario where the company expanded and they have now 5 more branches, and each branch has more than 100 users. So this means it calls for local domain controllers should be available. But your company decided, no, those branches should have their own separate administration. They should have their own privacy of administration, independence of administration, which means you're introducing child domains there. What is the purpose of child domain? Child domain means that what the administrator needs not to follow the group policies that are being implemented on the parent domain, and whatever users are created there, the child domain administrator doesn't want those copied here in the child domain. Whatever day-to-day task you're doing, the child domain administrator is not concerned with that, and it doesn't want, that administrator does not want any of those replicated to the child domain. So what does child domain do? It offers you a separation of administration while being the child of that parent. So it is still part of the same company, but you don't want any, there's some politics going on, okay, oh, that we are in Toronto branch and New York branch is also huge. Whatever policies we are implementing here, I don't think the employees there should be getting those policies. Whatever servers we are creating here, whatever OUs we are creating here, they should be concerned to restricted to our own domain, not go down to the child domain. So child domain, they have their own set of OUs, they handle everything themselves, they have their own OU structure, they have their own groups created. So child domain is all about separation of day-to-day administrative policies, right? You can create a child domain for a test domain as well. You want a replica environment, and this is very recommended that you must have a test environment that should be exact replica of your production environment. So whatever changes you make in the test, you would at least know that it's not going to affect right away your users, live users. So we create child domains for that. Test domains, whatever we implement in child domain is going to not affect our parent domain at all. Whatever we implement in our parent domain is not going to affect our child domain. They are together connected, but they are not sharing their day-to-day administration. Weird, right? It's a child domain, so why not? When we went for parent OU and child OU, whatever we do in the parent OU gets down inherited to the child OU. This is exactly opposite of that. Child domain does not take any orders from the parent domain while being part of the same structure,
So,
hierarchy.
and the parent absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Complete privacy. If you want to create, so this is a scenario where you want privacy from. While you can communicate with them, while you can make some replications happen, if you really want to, but just go for child domain when you need a separation of administration, or you need to have a test domain where each other's policies do not affect each other, right? So this is child domain. Now I'm going to create a child domain, but here let's just create 6 sites which are imaginary sites. If I go to sites and right click the new site here, suppose as I was saying the scenario, 5 more branches open. They created a child domain there for each site. In fact, 4 sites have child domain, 2 sites have 1 site have tree domain, 1 is the root. So I'm just creating quickly 5 more sites. You will get to know the concept now that, oh, this is all the site is about. Okay, there's a site this is Toronto, there's a site in New York, there's a branch in New York, and I'm just gonna select the default IP site link here. This is a branch in New York, and we are assuming that we already have Cisco connectivity, or connectivity through any other company routers. So the branches are connected. Active Directory needs to know, oh, there's a branch called New York, okay. Oh, they have domain controllers, okay. We're gonna know now when the whole structure is created. Press OK. It says site New York has been created to finish configuration of New York. Ensure that network is linked to other sites with site links. We're gonna talk about site links as well. Add subnets. We're gonna talk about subnets, and I'm gonna create, and you're gonna understand. Oh, that's how it works. Okay. So whatever subnet is going on there, we're gonna just mention that here. If it was a real thing, these are the steps we do. Okay, press OK here. New York site is created, but if we expand, servers folder is there, but there is no server inside, right? I'll just go and keep giving you, we're just gonna look at the big picture now. Sites New York, London. Third site is London. Default IP site link. We're gonna change that too later, but we're gonna talk about what's going on. So 6 branches total, 5 more. The company expanded. And you are given the task of, okay, tell your Active Directory we have now 5 more branches. So the Active Directory could adjust its replication strategy and know the topology has expanded. So the 4th branch is Brampton, 5th branch is Hamilton. If there is any other ton, we're gonna just add that too. So Hamilton, but definitely we're not going for Mississauga. You know why? The spellings are horrible. So, but since we just mentioned that, so I think Mississauga heard, and we heard its feeling, and it's our neighbor. So Mississauga, just like Massachusetts. Wow, can't even say it straight. Massachusetts. Okay, so Mississauga is the 6th branch. So, and each one of those have servers folder expecting localized service localization. If you're going for that, and you want to have a local replica DC available or local root DC of a child domain, you can have any type of domain or a tree domain. But it's just sites and services does not matter if it's a child domain. Sites and server doesn't matter if it's a tree domain. It just matters that, is it a domain controller? Is there a server with Active Directory? Yes, I'm going to show it here, right? Because if you join the domain, this particular domain, the sites and services or system.domain will show that there are these many servers, and the communication between the servers is going on fine. So if I go to the first site, which is our Toronto site, there are 2 domain controllers showing there actually. Now I'm going to create child domain and tree domain, and just we can just transfer even now I can just transfer. So suppose this second domain controller, the company said, hey, just move it physically to New York, and they need one. It's working fine. It's a high-end server. Just move it physically. You moved it physically. So as we saw that scenario, that if this domain controller I drag down here, I just drag down, right? So it says, whoa, what are you doing? Moving objects in Active Directory domain can prevent your existing system from working the way it was designed. For example, moving an OU can affect the way that group policies are. Yeah, whatever. We know that, it's not gonna affect the users. It's just an extra. Now the domain controller is moved inside the sites and services from one site to another, from one LAN to another, from one branch to another. But we will only do that if we have physically moved the domain controller to the New York branch, which means now if suppose again, you know what, I'm just gonna move it back. Suppose it is here and physically you moved it to New York branch, but here sites and services you did not do anything. So what will happen? We discussed that, right? What will happen? Yeah, 45 seconds replication over the WAN to New York every 45 seconds. It's gonna kill your bandwidth. Given that it's a main branch, so huge amount of replication is there, so huge amount of changes are going on in the domain controllers, so many users and servers are there. So once physically the server has been moved to New York, at once tell the Active Directory, hey, I moved this guy to New York. Do not start sending updates every 45 seconds. Now it has to be 180 minutes. So store and forward. Follow the store and forward replication now. You have to do that manual step here, right?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you have these 6 different sites and 6 domain controllers at each site,
Mm-hmm.
do you need to set up these sites and services at each one, or do
Yeah.
you need to put like a replica server, or say you have Toronto, then you add New York. If you have the main domain controller
Mm-hmm.
in Toronto at New York, do you have to create a replica, or do you have to create another?
So there are two choices. Either create a replica DC there,
Right.
so all the policies, group policies and scripts going to go there. It's just going to go slowly over the WAN there. It's going to reach there. If you create in New York a child domain instead of a replica DC transferring there, so child domain will say, hey, I'm not inheriting anything from you. I'm part of your network, yes, but this is a scenario where we will administrate or we'll do our day-to-day changes ourselves. So it's going to still do the global catalog server replication will go on, schema replication will go on, but day-to-day replication will not go on.
So if I had just one New York branch,
Mm-hmm.
but the New York branch already had their own network and
Yeah.
infrastructure and everything set up. So on their main domain controller, do I just need to install?
This is a migration. So it's a separate company you just bought,
Yeah.
and they have their own forest already.
Right.
And you have your own forest, so it's a forest level trust you have to create first,
Right.
and then you have to give permission. So in your own forest, maybe you create a separate domain for them, or in your current domain you start migrating their mailboxes and users through the forest trust.
So I can just add like one of the PCs global catalog
Through forest trust, yes, then you can do that.
and just replicate everything. No?
Once forest trust created, now make sure the namings are different. They must be different somehow. By coincidence they are not, then change those names, and then the replication will start, and global catalog will know each other. They can do a cross forest search. Yeah, they can do whatever they were doing within the forest, they can do across forest, as long as you're giving permissions to them.
Right.
And then you can migrate them all. But yes, you have to create a cross forest. After that, everything will start working as a one network if you permit it to act like that, and if there's no naming conflict. Okay, So I've created 6 branches here and 2 servers. So now we know the domain controller difference between this is across the WAN. If this domain controller was here, it would have been one LAN. So 45 seconds and 180 minutes difference, right? Second thing is that if we are creating domain, we have told sites and services, yes, there are 6 branches. We have to create a site link. We have to tell them what subnets are there. This is something Active Directory need to know, and why we're just trying to know that now. So 6 branches are there, and now I'm going to go to subnets. I'm going to tell Active Directory, okay, these are the subnets for these separate branches. One by one, I'm going to tell the Active Directory that, right? So I'm going to right click now, subnet, and new subnet, and so here it says that just give the, don't give a specific address, just give me the subnet for that branch. So I'm gonna click the branch whichever is first one, because otherwise in the network admin would give you, or if you're running the show, you would have an Excel sheet of all the subnets configured you have configured in other branches. In Brampton you might have configured 192.168.201. Our network is right now, our subnet is now 200. So 201.0/24, right? So we're just giving what subnet is there and what kind of network is there, and selecting this branch. I have connected, configured 201. So 201.1, 1.201.2, 201.3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay. There's cold?
No, I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, freshening up. Okay, so Brampton. This subnet, I'm just pressing OK here. So one subnet is showing there now. And this is for Brampton. I've already defined. I'm again going to right click the subnets, new subnet, and I'm going to keep going for all the other sites except for our own site Toronto, which is the subnet 200. All others 201, 202, 203. We're just going to imagine, but if it was real, then it's the same steps, right? So new subnet, again this time I'm going for Brampton's done, so 192.168.202 subnet I'm using, .0/24 for Hamilton, whatever is next. Press OK. In production, of course, we would have that exact information there. Then I'm going to go for the third subnet and the third branch as well. This is London, so I'm just gonna put some next sequentially available 203.0/24. I'm gonna click here London. So London has this subnet going on. So Active Directory would know definitely that okay, we're not having same subnets on 2 branches, and hence avoid all the IP conflicts there, right? So 3 subnets are defined. New subnet, and then go for 4th one. So I'm just gonna go, I think Mississauga, yeah. So 192.168.204.0/24. So Mississauga, and then New York. Oh, you know what? I shifted a DC to New York. And that DC is on 200 subnet. If I give here a 205 subnet, while this DC New York site is of 200, it's gonna make problems. So I'm just gonna transfer this dude here, this DC here, back. Press yes, and again, it's part of the same Toronto network. So I'm just gonna keep going and defining subnets for New York now. So 192.168.205 I did not use yet, so 0/24. Obviously in production it will be, as we will be following strictly the documentation and actual subnets defined there. But now Active Directory knows that there is no IP conflict going on. All subnets are different, all branches have different subnets, and this is proper planning, of course, by the network guy. And if you're the network guy as well as system administrator, as in most medium-sized companies, so you would be taking all these decisions, what IP address, what subnets would be given where. So I would really recommend go for CCNA basics. go for you buy from Udemy whenever they have $10 course. Just go for CCNA. Don't leave that alone. Or celebrity nuggets. Everyone has it. So, but it's mucho importante. Okay, so well, now the actual branch or actual headquarters 192.168.200. This is the actual branch. We have two domain controllers on, and I'm just gonna point it that this is for Toronto. This is in Toronto. 200 is our subnet, right? So press OK, and this is how we define or tell Active Directory these are separate subnets. Don't worry about the IP conflicts, and networking is just smooth and organized. So what we did till now is we created 6 branches. We defined subnets for each branch. Now the task of inter-site transport. That's your decision. That's your thinking. That's your knowledge of the network. That's what you decide, that which WAN connection is best between the branches and which WAN connection is slow between the branches or down at any certain time. So you're going to define inter-site transport. So first of all the traffic goes through IP. There's a SMTP protocol through which the the messaging traffic could go. It's hardly used, but if you want to use through port 25, two branches are transferring the traffic through SMTP. Port 25 should be the messaging traffic, but anyway, even the messaging traffic and all kind of traffic between the branches uses IP protocol, right? Second thing, default IP site link is just showing that there's a connection between all the branches right now. So if I go to default IP site link and go to properties, all the branches here are showing. Sites not in this site link. It's showing that as far as Active Directory is concerned, these branches we don't know, how they're configured. So let's just configure a route between two branches right now. So configuring a route is right click the IP and go for new site link. If I go to new site link, I'm trying to tell Active Directory, hey, there is a connection between Toronto and New York. So Toronto, New York, Toronto, and I'm just putting here both Toronto and New York. I'm telling them, okay, there's a site link between these two. There's a communication between these two. There's a routers are sending data. So that's how I define Toronto, New York, Toronto. But when I press OK, now if I go inside the properties of Toronto, New York, Toronto, so what's going on here? Cost I can define here 100. Replicate every, that's where we were talking about 180 minutes of every 180 minutes replicate. This is after Active Directory topology we're defining right now. So 180 minutes we can just put it to 90 minutes, 60 minutes here. We can just we discovered that this is a very good WAN connection, and in fact we have a redundant WAN connection between New York and Toronto because of some critical applications, and servers are deployed in these two branches mainly, and they need to be going through that redundant WAN connection. So we can just change this replicate every, but default is always 180 minutes. Cost, what do we mean by cost? Again, when we have I'm going to define now Hamilton, Brampton, Brampton dash Hamilton dash Brampton. So there's a site link between those, and then I'm going to define, okay, let me just define that first, so it will be much clearer. So there's a site link we have defined here. Then I'm just going to go again to the new site link, right click IP and new site link, and this time I define Toronto is used, right? New York is used, so Toronto dash Mississauga. Oh shoot, I went for the longest one. Toronto. and I'm just gonna add Toronto. There's a link. I'm telling activity there's a link between Toronto and Mississauga as well, and press OK. Now I'm creating a third one, new site link, and obviously New York, Mississauga, New York. You can see the logic of creating this. New York, these three are connected in a triangle kind of thing. Although we have 6 branches, but I'm just showing that how we can use site links to show what is the route and how can we configure a cost of the route. New York, Mississauga, New York. Press. So site link object must link at least 2 sites. Of course, I need to add them too. New York, Mississauga, New York. So press OK. Now we have this showing here: New York, Mississauga, New York, Toronto, Mississauga, Toronto, and Toronto, New York, Toronto. So they are all interconnected. But we know that now I need to actually draw this. So yeah, this is what I created. Everyone got that? So New York, Mississauga, New York, Toronto, Mississauga, Toronto, Toronto, New York, Toronto. So, but how can we use that, or how do we configure it basically? So what are we trying to do here actually? So if I go to the paintbrush, so there is this, and there is this, and there is this. So these are the three branches we were talking about: Tor, NY, and Missy. Seriously, just wrote the whole name. So how do we define that? So there is a route between these three. Now this is how it looks like. What I did there, right? What we did there was, this is how it looks like. So what is the cost if the van link here is much better? How do we define much better? T1. What is the T1 bandwidth? Anyone knows that? 1.4 megabits per second. 1.4 Mbps. Mbps. Here 256 Mbps, megabits per second. Here it is even worse, 128 megabits per second. Huh? Oh, kilp. Yeah. Oh, 2 megabits would be like on. Yeah, kilobits exactly. You're right. All right. So let's just change that. Exactly. And oh, seriously, just go faster. Okay, exactly. So what's going on here? What is cost? When I say define the cost here, a data is faster going from here to here, from New York to Toronto. Data needs to go to Mississauga. New York, Toronto, Mississauga, data is traveling, and then data can travel New York and Mississauga. So the cost can be defined where through which the data is traveling in less time. Open shortest path first in OSPF is another protocol in Cisco. So which is the shortest path or the fastest path, right? Also, if the route is down, you need to go take the second route. So this is terribly slow, and if there's a huge data, the bandwidth is showing here much better. We can go longer but faster way. It's still, the cost is the cost less this way? or is the cost less this way? Actually, let's just put it that way. Expensive, but companies implemented that. But how would the data, where would the data reach first, or better or bigger data would reach in time? There is a thing called reliability as well. So route 1 is that New York, Toronto, Mississauga. Route 2 is New York, Mississauga.
Yeah, but if the cost for the both connections is 100, wouldn't it be like from New York to Toronto is 100, and from Toronto to Mississauga it would be 100 again?
So how do we decide cost, or how do we change what is cost anyway? So this means that priority, what route to prefer, that's it. So you just put the cost lower for New York Toronto and lower for Toronto Mississauga, while the cost of New York to Mississauga 150. So this means that prioritize, make sure that you select this route first, and if somehow this route has some problem, the route is down here, then go for the second priority route, which is 150. Here if I put the cost 90, and here I put the cost as well, go 80 or 90 still, and here I put 150. So first prefer this route and then go for this route. If somehow something is wrong, that it's wrong, and you get the errors and replication is not going fast. So it's all about preference that you change the cost. Lower cost means more preference, higher cost means less preference, right? 180 minutes between these two branches. So now if I go and select any one of the route, I can change the cost here. So Toronto, Mississauga Toronto, as we decided there, 150. And so this is what we can change, and change schedule as well. What time of the day and night you want to transfer the data, right? So you can select those blocks between Monday to Tuesday and hours of the day, and select this. So this means that replication not available at that time, and this is just means that replication is available at night after 7 o'clock till morning 2 a.m. right? So you're just selecting the schedule of the replication as well here. So schedule of the replication, the cost of the replication, and then if the WAN connection is so good, you can just change it back to, from default you can just take it down to 90 instead of 180. So we can just decide all these factors once we create site links here, right? And we can actually add, if I just create another site link, we can add 3 here as well, right? Or 4 here as well at the same time. So Brampton, Hamilton, and Taunton and Mississauga, they're connected. So I can just go for that and just start BR Ham Lon West and press OK. So it's going to then we can consider that, hey, take this route if prefer this route, or this route is the last route. If both of the other routes does not work, just go for 170 the cost here. So if nothing works, then there's another second line that is communicating between the 4 branches. Then take that route, and I've put the cost of 170. The cost of between Toronto and Mississauga is 150. The cost between Toronto and New York to Mississauga is 90. So it is all preference I'm putting there. And if there are second routes, I'm just going to define that, oh, these 4 branches are connected this other way as well. There's another ISP connection between the 4 branches. So I can, but I would prefer this as the last one, last resort. So just this is how we can just configure all the replication across these. So now you've created subnets, we have created branches, we have had domain controllers. We can actually imagine there's a here we can actually create a imaginary domain controller as well. in sites. But I'm gonna just add the child domain now, so we can actually see what happens in the child domain, how it is created as well, to add it to the lab. So I have now that we have, if I go to the drawing, here we have done these tasks. It should have 6 branches. We create 6 sites. All branches subnets must be configured. We have done that as well. Site links must be configured. Site links, we have created site links. Modify default replication interval between sites. We now know that we have to create site links to make a change in the default replication of interval of 180 minutes. Now we know where to go and change that. We have to create a site link, then it will show that 180 minutes are showing there, right? So all domain controllers must be showing on first site, then we will transfer them. So I showed you that you can drag and drop between the 2 sites, and also the domain controller is showing on the first site right now. And what are the connectors? The connectors between the 2 domain controllers, I've shown that as well. But what we haven't done is the child domain and the tree domain within the same 6 branches that we are configuring right now. So sites and services features are covering here, but I want to see these 2 domain controllers as well while we get to know. I'm merging 2 more labs here of the how to create a child domain and tree domain quickly, but we need to really know the scenario of that as well. So I'm just going to the second server now. Now my first server and fourth server are part of the parent domain. Root DC of parent domain, root DC of root domain, and the replica DC of the root domain. Now I'm just going for the child domain, which could be another branch. So in New York, suppose. So I already do not have the binaries for that, so I'm just gonna quickly add the binaries of Active Directory. I should have server 2. This is the server 2, right? Oh, this is server 1. That's why I was having problem. We named it that way for the clustering. So server 1 next, and then Active Directory domain services next. If it needs a restart, press yes. Install on the second one. I think it already installed the binaries. So my second server here will be a child domain. Third server here will be the tree domain. Oops, that's the server 2. I removed those cards. The 10 ones. Yeah. So please redo your clustering labs. This is something you need to take very seriously for your career. Without clustering lab clarity, you will be only clear when you do it yourself, right? Because you will be facing more errors, and you will have that confidence to actually explain clustering to anyone, how it really works. So if you have done this lab, you're as good as some administrator who have configured in the environment. What happened?
But I said like normally you don't clustering the rules, like are you setting up, like if you are working in where it's already set up, right?
We don't even get to have a chance to actually install it.
Yeah.
But we had to once when our server went down, and that time I had no idea how to configure clustering, and my senior administrator, he was like this, and we were playing with clustering, all the components of clustering. At that time, if it was given to me, hey, configure right now, tonight we need to get this cluster up again, they would have fired me that night. There was a senior administrator there. He was, oh, don't worry, I'll do that. And I was, they thought I was gonna say, yeah, sure, I'm gonna do that. I was gonna, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna do that. Okay, yeah, do that. I was like, oh, thank God. They didn't know that, I don't know. Then next 2 weeks, I reinstalled clustering 2 times, and then I was clear. That was way back. So it will come anytime. It will, even you're doing a desktop support, and you're in a situation that there's no one there doing that, or you can come in. I was promoted from a desktop guy to a system administrator in the same company, so they knew I was a desktop guy way back. But I was telling them, hey, I'm doing this certification, this certification, this certification, this certification. I'm doing those. I'm showing those certifications. Oh, users and computers. Oh, you're doing that? So with system administrator, yes. This is. Can you give me one server? Just with least security, I'll help you. I'll convince them. So in 2 years, all certifications, they were totally convinced that he's ready. I mean, like he's ready to be a junior administrator. Okay. So and then I jumped in, but you have to be persistent, and that you can do it. You are the guy who will do it. So present yourself, and they will accept that. They will just see your confidence. That's it. All requires your confidence. Believe in yourself, and yes, I can do it. I'm an administrator. I just need a chance. Don't even say that. I will do that because I did it already. That's it. Okay. Promote this server to a domain controller. This is for. Okay. One computer. Now this server is ready for child domain. Well, what happened?
So, a friend of mine was telling me, like, he's a bit older, right? So he went for an interview, like a server administrator, like actual, I guess it's more like you're managing a lot of servers, like a storage server.
Oh, okay. Yikes.
But you have experience, right? But he went there and he's like, oh, what's a tape?
Okay. Tape drive, yeah.
Yeah, tape drive, right? He knows what it is, and he's like, oh, you have some experience. And I was like, yeah, I got some experience, right?
Oh.
He's like, well, I'm going to give you a server, and I want you to do a tape dump right now. He's like, are you kidding me? He's like, he knows like theory, he doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
They work with like actual, like they're like a storage company, I think.
Oh, storage company?
Yeah.
Don't say to a storage company that you know tapes.
He's like, I had to walk out.
Ouch. This happened to me in 3 or 4 interviews where I kept on bragging, and then they caught me really red-handed. But everyone does that. Everyone takes a chance. Everyone.
You have to, I think. Like,
If they don't further investigate, you're good.
you go through, like, I think 10 interviews, and the 11th will be like even more confident.
Yeah.
Just learn from all your yes,
Yeah.
certain things work. And certain
Exactly. Exactly. This is the case. Exactly. Just present yourself as administrator, and that's it. Okay, child domain. So I'm just gonna promote this server, the second server to a child domain, third server to a tree domain. So second server here is this. Now it's a separate option. When I go there, the child domain option is there already. I need to just add that other name. So as we decided, it's New York. So New York.sysnetdomain.local. That's the only addition I did. Okay, one more thing. How do we know that there's a replication going on perfectly between the root domain, root DC, and the replica DC? How? Yeah. How? Okay. So suppose it has all the users which the Active Directory had. Now, is it working perfect? Replication is like 45 seconds or 2 seconds or 1 second. How do we check now?
Does it show you the timestamp or
Other than that, select the service and that sites and services and replicate manual. There's another step which is very simple. It's too simple that we don't even think about it. Is create one object here, go there if it's there, create one object there and go there. It has to be two-way. If it's one-way working, that does not mean that it's working two-way as well. If it's one-way working fast, it does not mean it's working two-way as fast. Yeah.
But don't we sometimes create one way, like single way replication and certain where it's just like
Yeah, we do.
Pushing information.
We
on
do.
Servers like the RODC.
It's one way.
Yeah.
We can even have with read and write domain controllers as one way, but we have to configure that trust relationship. Yeah, we can do that.
Just say RODC. I just can't do it the other way around.
Yeah, it's one way. That's an example of one way. Yeah,
Single master.
single master replication
Yeah, single master.
and multi-master replication. Yep. How do we know? So I'm just going to quickly create one object here just to see if two-way replication is there. It's important to create object on both. So just create one OU accounts in one replica DC and a root DC OU called management, and that would be the quickest one. So I'm just going to open the Actor Union computers, and we did the experiment, and there were different results at different times. So users, right click, new. I'm just going for organizational unit on a replica DC right now, which it's not showing. So I'm just gonna go here, new, and organizational unit. So accounts on replica DC, press OK. Well, it's created here. I'm just going now to the root DC and checking if it's already there or not. Actor Union computers, it opens, refresh everything, and accounts is not there. Refresh, right click again. Yeah, it's there. So what, 3-4 seconds? Okay, from replica to the root, it's 4 seconds, the time it took for me to reach there, right? So now I'm inside replica, so I'm just gonna create a management OU and management, press OK, and refresh here, as well as I'll go to the replica now and refresh there, and management is still not there. I refreshed it. Let me go back and refresh the domain actually. Refresh on the replica. Oh, it's still not there. So what I created an object there on root, it has not replicated yet to the replica. Refresh again. Oh, nothing. Seriously. So from replica to root it was fast. From root to replica, what I created is not showing, still not showing. So it is effectively one-way replication right now. It's working for both ways? Okay, I have some specific problems then. And it's, as I said, it's going to be different for different environments. I mean, maybe there's some problem. One-way replication is only enabled right now. And I played with that, you know, in the sites and services. I transferred it to a fake site and then put it back. It did not like that. So sometimes I have to check. This means if I go to sites and services now and do a manual replication, I think that might fail or might not fail. What I want to do is, whatever I created on root DC, I need it to be replicated to replica DC. Where do I go and click replicate now? Whatever I created on root DC, I need it to show up on replica. So if I open sites and services on root DC, suppose, where it is already open, so whatever I created in DC01, should reach SAN01. Where do I go and replicate now? It's a one-way replication I need. So should I go to this area and right click replicate now? I need one way, not two way. Or I need to go to DC01. You know, I created something on DC01, but it's not showing up in SAN01. So replicate now would be here. What is it doing now? Yeah, SAN1. It is pull. So it's not showing on SAN1, so I need to pull that information now, which is not good. This is always a last resort. It's not the first thing. And well, it says it's working. replicated the connections, but the object is not appearing. So after that, oh, now it appeared.
I suppose you're going to do that if you want to test your application over
Yeah.
like a one link.
Yeah, and make sure that there's nothing misconfigured on that domain controller, and you're doing that.
So instead of waiting 180 minutes, you could just go replicate now.
Bingo. So yeah, between branches you can just start that and expect that 3 hours of data is coming to you. Now I said replicate manual, and after that it appears. So I had to push it. So that's how we test. So now I'm just going back to the child domain, and there's that New York dot Cessna domain dot local. It will be like that. The rest is next finish. But what I've done is, you already saw that I have accounts OU in root DC and management OU in root DC. So if the domain partition replication is going on between the parent domain and child domain, these two should be appearing there now. I'm creating a child domain now, right? So I've created accounts and management. They should appear, right? If there's a replication going on. And I'm saying it's not going to do, because it's a privacy. There's a privacy. Day-to-day partition information is not replicated between child domain and parent domain.
What is the name of the domain?
Yeah, New York
I get it on verification of child domain and just failed.
Yikes.
Child domain name New York.
is
Oh.
oh, invalid format. So this is how it looks like here.
Oh, okay. You just put New York. Yeah, put the entire thing.
Yeah, just the word New York, not the full FQDN. Right? So New York next, and then it's next finish. That's all. Yeah, you were about to say something? You were saying? You were about. I thought you had a question, so. No problem. So, you're taking the place of Anil, and you're doing exactly what Anil is doing.
I really like this monitor.
Okay. You're appreciating it for last 2 hours, man. So.
No, my desk is like so weird.
Oh,
I like this desk. Like,
cool.
so not very high.
That's good. So, how about following this as one?
No, I really just my house. I want to go. It's in. I would go get it. It's in Brampton. My friend's house is going like.
It's a weekend project.
And then I have to like drive there. But
Oh.
That's why I would have gone it like, wait. Yeah.
Brampton, man, that's whoa. I need to just now go Etobicoke. I need to go there.
That's okay. That's 35 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 40 nearly. Okay, the next finish. So when we create child domain, one question arises: if a user of a parent domain comes to a child domain and wants to log in, what happens? Okay, tell me. That user is not present in the child domain unless you create manually that user. Suppose there are 10,000 users there. Any one user just comes there on the child domain. Hey, I want to log into the network, and what do I do? Will that user be logged in or not? Yes or no? Well, so he's not part of, exactly. His username is not created unless you create it, right?
Even if it creates a he wouldn't be able to access any resources from the parent domain.
So what happens is somewhat exactly what you're saying. A parent domain user will go to the child domain. Child domain and parent domain are actually by network, they are connected. You can ping at least, right? You're able to ping any machine from here to there as far as IP communication is going on. So for a child domain user to come to for a parent domain user to come to a child domain branch, the user will be logging in from his own parent domain Active Directory. Authentication will just go across the WAN because there's IP communication. So if the user of parent domain takes his laptop and sits in the child domain, the user will be still able to log in from which the part if from the parent domain Active Directory.
Okay.
Why? They have IP communication. He's still part of that same network and he can actually ping it. So if he can access it, he can log in. But what does that mean? You cannot access the network resources of your child domain. You cannot, unless your user is created and you log in from that user.
But if I
You can also make a manual effort to actually have the two accounts collaborate, but that's across the domain. It has it is a little manual process. Yeah, you were saying? Yeah.
What if it's on like your second site is on a different subnet? And that user from the first domain goes to the child domain location.
Second site is always on separate subnet.
And you would still be able to get
Yeah,
the
he will get a DHCP IP from the second branch
for the local site.
for the local site, but there's a routing already enabled between two subnets between two branches.
Correct. So that will do the routing for them.
Yeah, because global catalog has to communicate. It's part of the forest, so they are pingable and subnets are routable. Yeah. Child domain is created, and I do not expect. So I'm on a child domain. This means now I'm on New York branch. Suppose this is the login of a user in New York branch. This is still my parent domain username password, right? On a child domain. So let's just prove, oh, is it a child domain? So my parent domain, I have disabled administrator. I have sysnet admin account, right? In child domain, I did not do anything, any such thing. It just created, right? So I go to the other user in the child domain server, and now it says New York. Yes, New York is the New York dot sysnet dot, and here administrator is the account. I never disabled it because it's the first time I'm logging in. So from a child domain, when I log in as an administrator of a domain, it's going to let me in the Active Directory. Are there those two OUs I created? So if I go there, tools, Activities and computers, and there this is the net New York dot sysnet domain or local. It's showing like this, and nothing. This is a totally new domain, like it's still part of the forest. Yep.
Is it like if I create like I created user, if I have a trust relationship, like is it automatically because it's parent and child automatically have a trust relationship?
Yes.
So does that mean if I go?
It's a two-way trust relationship. Yep.
Yes, if I go to the main location which has parent APC, I can log in, but I may have limited access, or I cannot log in at all.
You cannot log in from okay, this is the New York dot sysnet domain dot local. Right click, new, user 01, but this is the user 01 of child domain, user 01 at New York. Next, and this user 01, if this user 01 goes to parent network, it has no access there. So if I go to users now, New York dot sysnet, there's user 01. So this is the child domain controller. This is the parent domain controller, right? The only they are still part of the same forest. And if I go there, of course, there is no user 01 here. If I just search, maybe I created separately here, and this is just searching sysnet.local, right? User 01. There's no user 01, but there is now parent child domain showing here. If I go here, user 01. Well,
Why is
You don't have access. I mean, child domain, why would you even need it? Privacy of administration of day-to-day tasks in the domain. If you don't want to do that, don't install. Why? Don't go for that. If you want to have a test environment that has nothing to do with parent environment, go for this. Otherwise, don't go for this. If you don't go for this, then you just install replica DC in a branch. That's it. Over the network, it's gonna just replicate, and you have all the policies coming from the parent to the replica DC. But if you want separation, only then we go for child domain. It's not like, oh, it's a separate branch, let's create a child domain.
So in a large corporation, how would they do it? Like, for example, when I used to work for Babbitt, we had one head office here in Scarborough,
Mm-hmm.
North York, and then I can still go to like the Bloor location or even the Brampton location and still
Log in.
without any hassle.
You can log in and you can access local services, right?
Yes.
So this means there's a replica DC that's letting you log in, and to that replica DC, there all the file servers are also communicating. Those file servers are part of the parent domain. If you try to access in a branch office, if you go for ping, and that file server, suppose your branch is rogers.com, parent branch, and your child domain, you're in the second branch now. If you ping and it says file server.rogers.com, this means it's just a replica DC here. There is no child domain there to separate the authentication. If you saw toronto.rogers.fileserver.com, fileserver.toronto.rogers.com, now that's a separate domain. You must not be able to have access unless they have given you a second user.
So does that mean they just have one site?
Replica
and
DC.
then
Yeah.
everything is just replica DC or
They have two sites.
yeah,
They have one domain.
one domain. Okay.
That's it. Now we have two domains. One is child, one is parent.
Yeah.
If it's a child domain, it has nothing to do with parent domain. I mean, like, not nothing.
It's its own. Like,
Yeah, it's working on its own.
Yeah.
Deploy it if you need it. This scenario. Otherwise, don't go for that.
right.
So user 01 is in. I just created in child domain. Let me just log off from the administrator of this domain controller, but I have to create user 01 as an administrator because normal users are not allowed to log into the domain controller. So I'm just gonna add that user 01 to domain admins group or administrators group here. Administrators group. Anyway, it's not gonna let him. Administrators group, but I'm gonna show you. So user 1 is an administrator as well. Now he is traveling to Toronto, and this is the Toronto domain. The user 1 has still access, can ping his own servers, right? So first of all, user 1 at New York can log into the domain controller of parent domain or not. So that's the question. So I'm just going to log off from the domain controller here. Sysnet admin was logged in from the parent domain. User 1 is the user of the child domain. So let's go there. Other user, Sysnet domain is there. User 01 dot user 1 actually. If it's there, it's gonna detect that. Incorrect. Username or password is incorrect. Username user 01 does not exist in parent domain. But hey, I want to work. I want to log in, right? So how about if I just type here New York /. See this below, the New York is detected. Hey, there's a child domain called New York in the other branch, but I can detect it from here because we are pinging. We are same network across the WAN. We are still same network. I can still, no logon servers are there. Okay, it's not communicating right now. Are we able to ping? If you're able to ping, oh, you know what? Oh, seriously? Let me just ping. If I am able to ping, I will be able to log in. Oh yeah. One more thing here.
Is the child domain and the
Oh,
parent domain on the same network?
still those buggy network cards, huh?
Is the child domain and the parent network on the same subnet or no?
Even if they are not on the same subnets,
Yeah.
those subnets are communicating with each other
Because of the
because they are one company, they are one branch. Those branches are connected. you want to ping just IP, they must ping. In fact, I need to check that from this IP, can I ping the 200.2 to 200.1, because I had a IP address conflict here. Oh no, the network card conflict because of the clustering we did. Ping 192.168.200.1 should be pingable, and it is pingable 200.1, but from there is it pingable to here? That's a problem, because it's cannot, I don't think it's able to connect. New York is detected. That's proof enough that it can let the New York users log in if the logon servers are available. Logon servers unavailable message only comes when you're not able to ping even or communicate with them. So if I go back to sysnet admin, which is this user, and check why it's not pinging. So I'm just trying to prove that user of a child domain can come to a parent domain, can log in, but authentication will go back to the child domain controller. Same for parent domain user. If that user goes to the branch, it can log in from his own over the WAN domain controllers. But each other, local services you cannot access if they are part of the child domain. If they're part of the parent domain, then you can only access, or just create a new user account for you there. So I'm just gonna check ping, but I need to go for tree domain as well quickly. 192.168.200.2. Seriously, they're pinging. Oh, you know what? IP address. Oh, DNS. Oh, that's where. So I cannot ping server 02. Seriously, I can ping by name as well. How come logon servers are not available? So if this is administrator account, I'm on the child domain now. So the parent domain administrator, can that parent domain administrator log in from the child domain controller? So let me just check that. I'm gonna log on the child domain with administrator account, and I'm going to try to log in from the parent domain sysnet admin / it detects that there's a sysnet admin / in the below here, this one, and then sysnet admin. It's not available. Sysnet, oh, it's sysnet domain, not sysnet admin both times. Sysnet domain, sorry. Come on, man. Yep. So it did log in on the child domain controller. The parent domain controller administrator logged in from child domain controller, but with his own domain credentials, right? But the child domain user 1 was not able to log in from parent domain controller because of the access to the server somehow is not available. Otherwise it's possible. They can just authenticate with their own, right? You tried something?
I'm wondering if we use sysnet domain / system admin, wouldn't that be logging on using a cache credential?
Okay, that's a point. But then we should just check by creating a new user which has never been created, and then try that. In fact, yeah, before starting the tree domain, let's just check that. So yeah, it is cached right now. So this is a very good point actually, and this is also a good tone. There's alarm for, hey, go do Humber. Oh, was it funny? Oh, okay, no, those guys. Accurately using computers. Oh, they can hear us as well. Are you attending your and my lecture? That's not fair. Okay, anyway, so that's a very good point actually, and let me just check. So if I create a user 02 on parent domain, which has never logged in from the child domain, and for the user to log into domain controller, normal users are not allowed, so I have to make it a member of administrators for it to be able to log into the domain controller. Press OK, apply, OK, refresh couple of million times, refresh, so the information has reached there. Make sure information has reached there. Okay, now user 2 is a parent domain user which has never logged in from child domain controller. So if I go and log off the sysnet admin and go for other user, and so it's sysnet domain /user02. Method you're trying to use isn't allowed. For more information, contact your network administrator. Are you getting the same error? Did you try that? Sysnet domain user 02.
You have to use it to the domain user or administrator.
Yeah, I added it to the administrator because this message comes if the user 2 is logging in, is not a member of administrators, and it is trying to log into a domain controller. Then this message comes, but I think this information did not replicate perfectly. GP update. Just refreshing or giving it a little time should do it, because the thing is that if the information did not reach there, it's not gonna let the user to log in. Maybe a restart, or just to check the lab. This comes that it's considering this user as a normal user. Shall I restart the server? Okay, tree domain. I'm just quickly creating for the lab. While I'm giving it a time, the child domain, I'm gonna do the experiment after 10 minutes. By that time, the replication information should be gone there. Okay, so what I'm doing on the post deployment, promote this server, configure required for accurate domain services and file server cluster. Oh, seriously, that's the last lab thingy. Seriously, need to show the tree domain now. Clustering service is already removed. Yeah, so what's wrong with it? Anyway, promote this domain controller. I hope it works, but this time we are going for tree domain. Oh, one more thing about the child domain I was gonna show, but in the questions and testings it just got buried there. So tools and Active Directory domains and trusts. So child domain and parent domain have two-way trust relationship between them. So domains and trusts, if I go there, that will show this. So I'm in parent domain, it's showing there sysnet.domain.local, and its child domain, it's showing there, right? Right click the parent domain and go to properties. Now you can see the trust relationship, and it's going to show what is the trust type. So I'm checking the trust relationship of from the parent domain, so it's showing, oh, there's a child domain here, trust type is child, and it's newyork.sysnet.local, and domains that trust this domain and domains trusted by this domain, right? Outgoing trust and incoming trust. So it's just showing clearly that in domains and trust there's a child domain created. If I cancel out from here and go to newyork.sysnet.domain, right click properties, trusts, Active domain services could not display the object. Okay, I'm gonna just show you this trust relationship from the child domain as well. So right click, and so I'm gonna go for the Active Directory domains and trust in child domain. It's going to show that its parent domain is this. So the trust relationship is there, and they both show each other as child domain and parent domain, right? So let's log in from the proper administrator for child domain, and it will show that its parent domain is this. So Active Directory domains and trust will show that who's the parent domain, who's the child domain. So now I'm on the child domain, and if I go to New York trusts. Now it's showing that sister domain, it's its parent domain, right? So this is a trust relationship. It shows between the child domain and parent domain. One more thing. Unexpected error. Oh, seriously. I think tree domain project will be dumped. Or shall I restart? Yeah. So restart dash comp. Okay. So we have replica DC we have done, sites and services we have done, child domain we have done, tree domain and forest trust are remaining. Okay. When we go for scenarios and we go for testing, it takes time. But you know, if it increases knowledge, that is a good. Okay, logging in from member server of a parent domain and trying to install the tree domain now. What is the scenario of tree domain? Anyone knows that? Or what is a tree domain anyway?
It's like a
Brand new what? Name.
brand new name, like same, it could be but like now under one course, but a different domain, right?
And why do we do that? What's the scenario that you would want to go this way?
Resources, like I guess like
Hmm?
like you could have the same company, but like sister and brother company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they manage this service. One
Yeah.
company, but they actually manage everything separately, right?
Maybe it's
But-
different products, and those products have their own divisions and everything. You want to go with the product name, and still the employees want to. So main thing is totally different name
yeah.
because of the business,
Right.
but they are still part of one parent company.
Right.
So the employees of one business can still access the resources of other business, and both businesses have the same parent company, right?
Right.
So if I go again to that, now I'm choosing, instead of child domain, I'm choosing tree domain here, and so when we choose tree domain, I can just go for cars dot, and they're specific about, okay, they're just selling BMWs, right? You want to just add your own favorite car model or type. Anyway, so if I go totally different name, it's going to just take that as a separate tree, and between separate tree, the main thing is that the root domain of the tree domain has two-way trust relationship between the root domain of the parent domain. Did anyone get that? So if you create a tree domain, and that tree domain has two branches, so cars.bmw has branch in Toronto and Mississauga, while parent domain has two branches as well, again Toronto and Mississauga. But the root domains of both are in Toronto. The branches or the child domains are in Mississauga of both. So the root domain in Toronto of parent domain has two-way trust relationship between the root domain in Toronto of tree domain. Both domain, parent and tree domains, first domains will have two-way trust relationship, but the child domain will have nothing to do with each other. So can you explain me now in your own words? That's the fun part. So yeah, but it's always clear with the diagram. It's a lot of words. So there is parent domain and parent domain's child domain. No, you know what? Jay would understand it right away.
Right.
Now I'm gonna try this on Jay. So consider that you're being interviewed right now. Oh, you know Active Directory, right? So I'm creating a tree domain and I'm explaining your concept. That is what I'm telling you the exact thing. I'm not asking you what is the concept, right? I'm explaining you. You just say true or false, right? So the root domain of the tree domain has two-way trust relationship between with the root domain of the parent domain. So can you explain it in your own words?
Okay. Just to understand the question.
Root domain of the tree domain which I'm creating.
Possible,
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it is like if the relationship is already created between tree domain and root domain of the parent domain. Is that correct? Like,
Yeah.
created,
He's
or-
doing that thing.
No, bro. I'm trying to understand the question because I'm confused with the question.
No, you're putting the blame on the interviewer now.
No, that's
So
the thing.
while
That's the trick.
while figuring out what's the answer, are you
Yeah,
sure
that's the
this is a
trick.
question?
Then
And this
they'll
is a
try to-
perfect one.
That's a,
Way to go,
they'll try
man.
They'll try to say something a little bit different, give you a hint.
Shift
and I'll
to-
use that time to think.
Man, you're gonna prove to be a very good manager. You're gonna go way high in the company. So I'm telling you now.
No,
So,
it works so well.
Definitely it works.
so well.
I mean, really, you make the people give hints. So that works really well. But here in the diagram, if you go for that,
I thought like you have to create, if it's two different domains, you have to create it. Like you have to manually create it. I guess if it's one port is automatically created, even though it's two different domains.
no,
No, right?
no. So parent domain is sysnet domain dot local, and tree domain is cars.bmw. We just put that there, and they are same forest, but now they have a child domain, tor dot sysnet domain dot local, and tor dot cards dot bmw. Okay, so now what's the difference? Okay, you know what I did? I should have put it here, so it should be less confusing then. Tor cards dot bmw is the child domain of the parent domain called cars.bmw. Sysnet.domain.local has a child domain called tor.sysnet.domain.local. Tree domain called cars.bmw has a child domain called tor.cars.bmw. So child domains are there. Okay, one thing. Second thing. Now the question again. If you see this diagram, so it's not question, I'm explaining that. There is between the root domain of the parent domain and the root domain of the cars.bmw tree domain, there is a two-way trust relationship. They can have two-way trust relationship, they can share resources, but now the only thing here is a child domain of a tree domain cannot communicate with the root domain of the tree domain or the child domain of the tree domain. So this exactly, if I go the other way, same thing. The child of a parent root domain cannot access the tree domain root and tree domain child. So while the root domains of tree domains, this is specific to tree domain. You create a tree domain, the first domain you create, cars.bmw, has two-way trust relationship with the parent domain. That's all. But their own child domains have nothing to do with each other. Their own child domains cannot do anything. So anyone with your own words.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the child domain of each individual domains kind of communicates with you could say with the other parent domain.
Yeah.
or any of its
Bingo. That's it.
subdomains.
That's it. That's it. So, but the root domains have two-way trust relationship.
Well, why would it two
Root domains,
domains be able to
same forest. Someone has to have a relationship. If they're totally cut, huh? Okay, what's the point of putting it in the forest? But that's a good question, right? Why even they have two-way trust relationship? But someone has to have a trust relationship because of the same forest. That this means that child domains later can have easy trust relationship. You can create a single one-way trust between the child domain of tree domain with the root domain of the parent, or single one-way trust between both child domains. Or you can manually create two-way trust relationship later between the child and child, but default only this is the one that is by default created. Later we can easily create because they are in the same forest. That's the benefit. We can easily create trust relationship between any child domain. That child domain is in Toronto. We are sitting in suppose in London, and this is in Toronto. So Toronto child domain, and this is also child domain in Toronto. Same city but different child domains of different tree. So why don't you create a trust relationship? Because we can easily do that because it's in the same forest. So that's the easy part. That's the best part of it. You can just create. Maybe it has child domain. Maybe it has child domain. Keep creating trust relationship easily because it's in the same forest.
Yeah, would have any reason why they would do something like that?
For a tree domain.
For two separate child domains to communicate with each other.
So suppose these two are actually existing in the same building because they are both in Toronto and their parent company is the same.
Right.
On the top floor is this one. On the second floor is this one.
Okay.
They are together, same company. Why don't you just let them share each other's printers, share each other's file servers? Because they might be collaborating. Their higher management might be collaborating. They are dealing with cars. They are dealing with something else. But their higher management has to answer one CEO.
The accounting department.
Account departments need to really collaborate. Exactly. So strategies have to be, although they are totally different business, but the same CEO wants them to, hey, where are you? You come here. Both separate businesses. Tell me how much rich I am now. So, but if they are same group of companies, so different businesses can collaborate with each other if they want. So Microsoft has created all those scenarios. Hey, you want this? Okay, we have this scenario. You want this? That's why you as a consultant can say, okay, for this scenario, we can create just child to child because they are accessible while the root domains are in different cities. But the child domains are on one building, separate floors. So okay, let's just let them collaborate. Maybe this has better machines, more color printers, and the other one doesn't have, and their budget is low. They're not making good, so they can just use their own others' resources, right? Anything. But there are different scenarios, and it's many companies have global presence with 300, 200 branches across the globe. So sometimes two different businesses of the same companies are located very near. Okay, collaborate. We have one vendor. Yeah.
It's like a good scenario when like a company gets like bought out.
Oh yeah.
Or when a company grows, it makes it much more easier.
Exactly. Just communicate between the child domains. So this is what tree domain is all about. So how to create that? Cars.bmw within the same forest, because it detects sysnet domain.local. All we are doing is creating a separate business, separate network for the separate company or separate business of the same parent company within the same forest. The next is all next finish. But again, same thing applies. The users created in the parent domain are not replicated to the tree domain, root domain. It's like a child domain as well. But if you want to create trust relationship that they should replicate, you can make it easily. Like it's a manual step, but you can make it easily. It's just that by default, it's going to offer you still a separate administration area. If you want same policies of parent domain, then just go for replica DCs across all branches. Don't create child domain, don't create tree domain. What's the difference between child domain and tree domain? Should be easy.
Namespace.
Yeah.
The full namespace.
Child domain is still part of that company, first company, but they are just administratively they want to run their own business, right? They want to run their own branch without inheriting any stricter policies of the HQ or headquarters on their own branch. They want some loose policies, right? Or any other scenario. But this is a totally different name. It's a totally different brand of the same parent company. So that you go for tree. Yeah.
So it's like Walmart or something, like Walmart and all that.
Yeah.
They want to have their own on-site administrators.
Exactly.
They would get an administrator there on
Dedicated.
site. Let them create the users there. Let them create the
Yeah. Yeah, without taking
objects and stuff like that.
exactly according to the situation of local situation.
This is fun.
Yeah, and like Best Buy, Future Shop used to be part of the Best, same company, but now Future Shop is gone. Everything is now Best Buy, right? So, oh, now I remember. I bought something from Future Shop 2 years ago. Oh, it's too late.
I think it's still they're accepting.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
a period of time.
yeah. Whatever you bought from there, Best Buy will handle that. That's what they said.
Sounds like this.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so this is tree domain, sites and services, child domain, replica DC with sites and services context. So we still have forest trust and we have certificate services, very, very important to understand for security. We have RMS, rights management services, and then now the cloud thing, ADFS. What is that? Federation services. Da-da-da. The toughest. And then there are more tough things coming, which are, implementing in lab is like not a piece of cake. So, okay, guys. It's 3 hours. Okay, cool. I had to pause for certain breaks.